So I'm on this like Australian 8, like we're getting back. And I remember like Caleb, our cox, in there, like I've got 8 seat, I've got 7 seat, I've got 6 seat. Like that was just so cool at the moment, being like, we're really chewing through the same. I mean, it's always hard to be behind, right? Like, but it's trying to trust out. Like our whole like big thing was we don't have to be first in the first 500. Like we want to be first over the line.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Last Stroke Counts. So far on a podcast, we've mostly been speaking to British athletes and people competing for the British rowing team. So today's episode, we're hoping to shine a light on also what it's like to row at a very high level on the other side of the world, where today's guest is from New Zealand. Please welcome Emma Dyke to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. This is a really good one. Again, like me personally, just if there's another program I'm interested in that in the world of rowing, I think New Zealand's going to be one of them. Obviously, from a British perspective, there's been some real humdingers on both sides. So I think it's going to be really interesting to delve into that and speak to someone from a different perspective than GB. So I think that'd be pretty good. Just to start, I'll go through some of your achievements then. So 2013 Junior World Championships. 2014 straight into under 23 World Championships with a silver medal. Again, then 2015 Senior World Championships, and then 2016 Rio in the women's 8. Unfortunately, finishing 4th, but in 4 years from junior to Olympics is pretty awesome.
Insane, yeah.
After that, 2017 to 2019 again, three Senior World Championships, finishing in 2019 with a World Championship gold medal, and after the break for 2020, 2021. Tokyo women's 8 again, silver medal. So that's an awesome thing. I feel like I keep geeking out every time I list everyone's achievements.
Yeah,
they just keep getting more and more.
It's pretty stacked. Yeah.
That's cool. It's been a good journey.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I kind of where we start with everyone really is kind of how did you find rowing? How did you get into it?
Well, I guess for me, I was from like a tiny country town in New Zealand, middle of South Island. And I went to boarding school in a little coastal town called Timaru.
Cool.
And then I had 2 of my friends that lived in the same little country town as me, Mayfield. They rowed in their first year, like year 9 school. I don't know if it's called year 9 here.
Yeah.
And then next year they were like, you have to come down and try. You're told, like, you'll love it. And came down, tried it, and initially they hated it. I hated it so much. I was like, takes all my time. Like, couldn't go home on the weekends. And then I was just too scared to quit.
Really?
Here I am. I was like, I can't quit.
Really?
It's a team sport, and I'm like, don't want to let people down. And like 4s and 8s, and then I just never got around to quitting.
But at some point, you started enjoying.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, like probably and going to my second year, I started to enjoy it. I think initially I was like, oh, this takes up all my time because like every weekend training camps, and I was a homebody and going to boarding school. Like obviously I never went home because of rowing, but eventually I was like, my boarding school, don't need to go home.
Yeah,
rowing's great.
More into it, yeah. I always laugh. My first year rowing, we started when we were sort of 14. I refused to get a racing license. So after we started to learn, like my coach was like, right, we're all going to get a racing license. We're going to go row in some races this summer. I was like, no, I don't want to take rowing seriously. This is just fun for me. And like on my first year, I didn't race. Like everyone else went off and raced.
Training like same as everyone else.
I just did it I just thought it was fun, to train, but I just didn't want to take it seriously. And then it became my whole career. So to look back at that kid, it was like, no way.
That's wild. I feel like the only good part is the racing.
Yeah,
all the different schools and.
Yeah, I don't know what it was though. I don't know why I decided that. I mean, our first year we only learned in the summer, so it was only sort of one rowing, and then I guess like at some point I caught it and went back next year. But yeah, no, that's funny. It's been really interesting, like speaking to people about how they got into it.
Yeah,
like some people have got parents who are into it and sort of fed them into it.
I literally got no athletic.
There wasn't that many. I mean, quite a lot. It was done to get out of something else. So it's like a sport they didn't like, which is kind of funny.
Quite a few schools in New Zealand, like especially boys' schools, to play rugby, you had to row.
Okay.
Because they were like rowing such a athletic sport. They wanted their rugby players to be fit.
Yeah.
So they'd make them row to be able to qualify to even play rugby.
Yeah, a similar thing happened in our school. The rugby coach worked out that the rowers were pretty fit.
Yeah.
When he had some kids who weren't there, he'd send them over to rowing training for a bit. But rowing in general is not kind of like on the curriculum.
No,
Yeah.
No, like most schools are small. There's only probably a few schools that have big, like, 70, 80 athletes. But like most schools are like, mine was maybe 14 when I was in school.
in a year.
No, in the whole rowing team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, really small.
Yeah, like we do, like quite a few people would row up age groups
Yeah.
because just to make a woman's eight.
Yeah.
But
And then, so what's obviously for men in New Zealand rugby is the thing that they get pushed into. And what's the other women's sports?
they play basketball, netball.
Yeah, netball's.
That's pretty much it, I guess. Netball, basketball. I guess maybe not basketball women, but netball, yeah. The only other sport. Hockey.
Yeah. Bit of everything.
That's it.
But there was nothing that you really took super.
No, like my first year at school, I did basketball and netball. I really liked basketball, but then eventually rowing just makes it your whole life. Don't have time for anything else.
That's right. So what age did you fall into love with the sport, I guess?
I probably, how old are you? And you're like in year 11, so like my third year at school. So say probably 16. Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
So probably around then. Because I didn't like it my first year. My first year rowing, second year of school. And then my first year of school I didn't row. So yeah, probably 16.
Nice.
But I liked it. It was like doing the ride at school regattas.
Was there something that prompted that, or like
I think
good
it was just
result?
doing well. Like I mean, you train so hard, and it's such a, like, I don't know how many sports require this much training in like time of your like life. And then I think the rewards, like training so hard and getting reward out of it, was obviously so satisfying.
Yeah.
So like a huge part of it is always being successful. Like doing something you're into. Another huge part is generally for most people be like who you had to coach.
Yeah, 100% exactly. Like coach and even like crewmates. Like even some of the girls in my women's eight, like they never did well at school. Like had 2 people in the entire rowing team. Like I don't know how they made it. Yeah. Like there's no way I was stuck at it with.
Well, just in a single all the time.
Like Kiwi Gala. Like I'm pretty sure there was literally 2 people. Like her and this other girl to pair, and then the little sister Jackie obviously rowed as well. And I'm pretty sure it was like 3 or 4 of them in the entire like rowing team. Like, why would you keep going?
Yeah.
I'd hate that.
That's the question, isn't it? You just do, don't you? I don't know. There's something inside you. Once that fire gets lit.
Yeah, I mean, like going to regatta is the best part, Yeah. Like I would do it for that, just nothing else. Not the training.
So then going up into obviously like finishing school with a junior world championships, did your school have a history of getting kids into?
No, I think it was definitely like I think 1 or 2 other girls before me that did juniors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they progressed past juniors, but yeah, like it was a pretty cool thing.
And juniors for you guys, well, any type of world championship race is like very different to what it is in this country.
Yeah, 100%. It's so different. Like
yeah, I mean, in this country, you trial throughout the year, but for the most part, all the kids row in their own club.
Yeah.
Like right up until Henley, like just been. And then the junior team will do some, like maybe do final testing, and they'll have like a few weeks in the crew before they go.
Yes, you would probably go, maybe at junior level, you probably away maybe 6 months in total.
Wow.
So like, I think we all like obviously move away from homes and schools. So I like we had to go to this big school in Cambridge in the North Island to do our schooling. Not sure how much schooling I did once I left my own school. Okay. I think I just watched Game of Thrones because that had just come out. So like, don't think, I just really
take the whole team.
Yeah, everyone gets shifted into Cambridge, which is like where the national team's based as well. And then there's obviously there's like a little camp, like hut places that they put us all in.
Yeah.
And then we relocate there for, maybe 6 months. I think we were overseas for 3 weeks, 2 weeks.
So I remember when my first under-23s, we had quite a good race with Australia, and we just pipped them. And then in the after party afterwards, they were being like, so like, how long have you been in the crew? And we're like, 3 weeks. And they were like, what? Like, you just beat us and you've been in this A for 3 weeks.
That is weird.
Yeah, because Henley is so huge.
Yeah,
there's no way you're going to get kids out of schools before Henley. Like that's such a huge part in this country.
Such a big thing. It's so wild.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously they do like testing weekends, and you'll they race at like Munich and stuff. So you'll get cast for the most part. So I rode with each other. It's not like completely fresh in the crew. And then
still 3 weeks.
Yeah, I know. So you guys are like on like a 6-month training camp. That sounds fun. Yeah.
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 It's just literally being a body school with like all these random guys and girls. And I went to a girls only body school, so
okay, so
not that's not the wrong team. Yeah, it's cool.
That's a bit more like Poland, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So like as a junior, I would get like this invitation to go to like a training camp every 3 weeks. And then there would be like 2 weeks in between. And then would go from like the winter training center to the summer training center. And I'm not sure how much school I've attended in my last 2 years of school.
Are you supposed to do school while you're there?
I'm pretty sure you just get basically like this letter that says like, oh yeah, like you don't have to do exams and this and homeworks, etc. So just when you turn up, also teachers are like, yeah, you've just been on the national team training camp.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They're a bit chill. Like I definitely was lenient through my exams, but like I pulled out of a lot of my schooling. Like I did the bare minimum subjects just to get by.
That's pretty much why I stayed in school as well, to be honest. It was like my school also had a college, but you kind of had to like get good enough grades to be invited back. So I didn't really care about the grades. It's like I want to row with my crew for the next 2 years. Like that was like my whole focus.
Absolutely. Like once you pick up rowing, like the grades, whether you get a B+ or an A-, like who cares? Like,
no, exactly.
What's your 2K?
Like, no one cares at school once you're the raw.
My brother was pretty naughty at school, and I was seen as to be like quite good. But again, like the only reason I was being good is because if you got detentions, you either did them on Wednesday evening or Saturday morning. And rowing training is Wednesday evening or Saturday morning. So it's like, I was just probably a bit more, I just couldn't afford, it's like, I was like, I can't get caught being naughty.
So that was good.
Yeah, rowing kept me on the straight and narrow, I guess. I could be in jail now. Cool. So then step up from having come back from Junior Worlds, and then you kind of decided that was something you wanted to do. And
like actually at that point, I was like, I remember at school, we had like I think it was like the army came to visit, and I was like, I'm going to join the army, which is so rogue. I went to this army training camp, like a boot camp for 2 weeks after I came back from Worlds, and I was like, this is a bit of me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm going to go row one more crack. And I was like, I'll come join the army after. But then ended up getting silver in 23s.
And then so in 2014, yeah.
Yeah, and then never left.
Yeah, and that was it. And then I get...
Well, yeah.
So for under 23s, do you like do any uni or studying as well? Or you just literally go...
I did start to do uni, but then I was like, this is too hard, so I pulled out.
What course out of interest?
I started doing like human health.
Okay.
And I did like one semester, and I was like, it's far too hard, because a step up from junior training to like 23 training was so like, honestly, astronomical for me. It was ridiculous. I'd like go to training, come home, like whether at 8 or 9, so get straight to bed until then woke up just before my next session.
Yeah.
Head straight down to the lake, like literally eat, sleep, row. That was my life for the whole year season.
Plus also us in rowing, you just learn human health, but like from the practical side of things. Like, why would you read a textbook?
I know, I didn't need it.
I mean, it's really impressive, like to step, like you said, from junior to under 23s in 1 year. There's very few people in this country that do it. In general, there'll be at least like a 2 year gap on like making that step up.
I mean, I think maybe it's the size of the country, because I feel like it's probably more normal in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Most people do. I mean, if you, I guess, are good in juniors, like you kind of do just roll through and there's probably 23s of people stay in there for like their maximum amount of years. Yeah,
I mean, the other thing being like, it's difficult to do something else when you're on a 6-month camp.
Yeah, exactly.
So and how long for under 23s are you spending over in Europe?
We were probably overseas for maybe 2 months, 3 months, 2 months probably. Yeah, and then it's probably similar to juniors. We're probably in came, maybe a bit longer, maybe like 8 months. 6 to 8 months, I think. So kind of similar, but more like when you move up there, like you get a flat. Yeah. You're kind of more settled in.
And
because you're hoping you're going to continue on to 23s.
Yeah. Is there support, like funding for athletes at that level?
No, so there wasn't. So I remember there is now. They have some sort of program now that I think if you're in it 1 year and then you make it the next year, there's some sort of funding that kicks in for you.
Yeah.
But we did, like, my parents ran this huge, I left for training camp for juniors, and they ran this huge, like, fundraising thing in my little town. And it raised, like, fundraised enough money to cover my junior year and my 23 year, which is great.
That's awesome. I heard that again from some of the Australian guys saying the same thing, because that, like the cost, like for us, obviously, as a under 23, so once I did under 23s once and I got a little bit of funding, but it's literally like a few £100 a month to help you out. Yeah. But the cost of going to the event is covered again. Mostly, it's like we pay like 350 quid.
So like everything overseas, like
I know we're already taking a plane to Italy or something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we are flying 30 hours.
Yeah, it take that long.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm flying home at the end of the year, and I haven't done a long haul flight since I moved here in September,
Yeah.
2 years ago.
That must be a nice thing about not rowing anymore.
I know. So we'd see every obviously Olympic year and the year before the Olympics, we stay over here for between the World Cup and World Champs. But when we don't do that, we go there, back. For World Cups, go back, World Champs.
That's definitely one of the things I thought about when I finished. Was I'm not going to get on a plane.
I love the long haul travel.
I know, but I was just all this.
Yeah,
I was
true.
in a hotel, living out a bag your whole
I
life.
love living in a hotel.
We just put the bag on the floor, live it out of a bag for a week.
Absolutely.
There must have been taking the toll on you and on the recovery as well. Obviously doing all those long haul flights. You're probably out of action for 2 or 3 days after with all the jet lag in the time zones.
Yeah, exactly. Literally the first day we generally obviously get down, rig the boat, go for a walk, try and, not with sunglasses, try and get straight into the time zone. But yeah, it's definitely the first 10 days. Generally they say the 10 days after being there is your worst, and then you kind of start to adjust. But it's definitely hard. But we always make sure we're there generally 12 days before the main event.
Yeah.
If we're going straight over from New Zealand.
There's crazy things not even consider as a athlete based in Europe. I think obviously there've been some races sometimes a World Cup in Sydney and things like that, but for the most part.
Yeah. So that's why you do Tokyo, countries when it's close to us. Obviously we still flew over maybe 10 days, but then I'm pretty sure the British team flew over a week before. Really silly.
The world, I mean, it was restrictions and stuff and all that. But specifically they said, again, Henry was talking, saying one of the big problems was they got over a bit early, but they weren't allowed on the water. So they ended up doing a little erg camp.
Yeah.
In the run up to the Olympics. It's I don't think I want to do that. No. Yeah. Cool. It's just it's crazy to think, how much more goes into it. And we sort of spoke but briefly before, but there's 5 million people in New Zealand. That is a really small country. So how many people generally are based around Cambridge in the rowing?
So I think generally our team would be anywhere between when the men's and women's eights both in it, probably 32.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, quite a small group.
Yeah.
But training obviously very, very hard to get the results that you guys are getting. That's one of the things I always say. Someone says who's the best in rowing? And I'm well, GB gets most medals, but considering how many athletes New Zealand has, they're the only people that can kind of rival with them.
Yeah, so go New Zealand.
Yeah, it's a huge, in this country, there's a lot of feeder clubs. Obviously, Liana Club has a big high performance program, but there's a bunch of other boxes coming up. Molesey, there are high performance centres dotted around, and they sort of generally all feed up into the top. And then at Caversham, I would say there's probably more than 30. There's probably more 50 athletes that train there nearly full time, men's and women's and lightweight squads and stuff. So yeah, it's I guess in some respects fun to you'll know everyone a little bit.
Oh yeah, we all lived flattered and hung out together. It was just you literally roll with knowing your friends.
Yeah.
Even though I guess your colleagues in a sense.
Yeah, that's the best thing. If anything, that's probably going to help.
Oh, 100. I loved it. I feel you talk to some. Obviously, I don't know if they do it here, but in Australia, the boys and girls train in completely different, live and train in different areas.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
You'd be so bored.
And in terms of competitiveness, obviously, you living and interacting with your friends, but you're also fighting for seats. So how does that come into play?
I think you do pick and choose, I guess, who you're living with, and obviously being a women's eight, there's obviously more of us, but it probably is definitely a tense boat to be in, I would say, just with 8 girls. But yeah, I lived with a bar sider, Beth. I'd lived with her for years, but obviously I wasn't competing against her, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But I would choose not to live with someone that I was competing against.
So you just strokes hardest, stick with bow hardest, and then the other way around.
That's a good rule, yeah. I think in the 8 as well, it's big enough that you can kind of stay away from the...
Yeah, exactly. The people in your boat that you hang out with outside of rowing. I generally get along with everyone, but you've got the people that you obviously...
I think that's
actually friends with.
Sometimes a funny thing, some people are just different and you just don't get on. And I think sometimes outside of rowing, everyone expects you to be super best mates.
Yeah, I know.
And they find it, which is cool if you do get a crew where it's like that, but also they find it really weird when you're so you're gonna go to World Champs with them and you're not really that good mates. And you get in the boat and even if you had a falling out or whatever, like that doesn't matter. Like we're here to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything goes out the gets.
I do think it's good, like not being like best friends with everyone on the boat, because I find that it's so hard to have those like tough conversations without being like, I don't want to hurt your feelings because you are like one of my best friends. So it's definitely easier.
But get your fucking blade in.
Yeah, and I think it's easier not to be friends and just be like, you know, then you have those conversations and you're not like worried because once they leave this building, I'm not going to see you today, you know?
Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? Because like you said, your teammates, but competitors as well. It's not.
Yeah.
I guess in other sports you have the same thing, but you know, like I don't know. I guess say in football or rugby, 15 people, there's like 15 different positions.
Yeah, I don't feel like rowing is just one of the most cutthroat sports. Because even like in an 8, like we're constantly we barely train in 8. Like we're always in pairs of 4s, and every day you're out and you're like trying to be the best, even though you're all coming back into the same boat.
Yeah, so
it's like we're all out there yelling at each other in the water, like.
Yeah, so training wise, is it quite intense in that way? Do you do a lot of testing against each other? Yeah,
so definitely, like obviously, because you had Kerry, Grace in the pair and the 8, so we generally did train with them if we were in pairs because they were obviously a little bit quicker. Mm-hmm. So they would train with like the women's double or something. But yeah, it is. We do a lot in pairs and a lot of 4s, and it would just, even if it was like a chill paddle day, it would still just be like, so it always had to be slightly in front.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Maybe I wasn't getting involved in that because I just wasn't the pair that would be in the lead. But in the British system, there's a lot of like low intensity, like long time workouts. So we do like quite a lot of training where it's not as competitive. Although to like compare that, again, Jack was saying in the run up to Tokyo, they didn't know where their crew was. They were doing a lot more testing, but like that kind of like matching up testing stuff is brutal.
Yeah.
Well, if that's going on every day, like it's really stressful.
It is hard. Like we'd get through, because obviously our training weeks would be like build 1, 2, 3, 4, and then recovery week. Mm-hmm. So like by the recovery week, we'd be like, we are not going, like if we're going out for like a 15k row, we'd literally be like, and if we were 2s, 4s, like we'd be like, that 4's going off like 30 minutes before us and we're getting on after, because otherwise it always ends up like, you know,
it's difficult.
Someone's trying to push in front. It's just you're constantly like under pressure and trying to be the best. It's just easy to be like, we're going to go completely separate. Like we're going to head that way first. You head that way first.
Yeah. So you were is it on Lake Caribbean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's quite a big lake. It's
like a big lake, and then it goes into a river, which can go, like we can probably go up 20k.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, 50k.
But do you get a stream because it like goes into a river?
So generally, like on the way out, you're going into the current. I mean, like minor current, and then on the way back home, you're with the current, which is nice.
I struggled with a little bit of Caversham. Is you train at the National Centre on the 2k lake.
Yeah.
So you're doing a 20k session and just like...
I couldn't do that. Yeah. We'd be training like Belgium before, every now and then, like maybe 2 or 3 times, depending on where the World Cups were, we'd train in Belgium in the same 2k course. Like in a women's 8, we're so slow at turning. 20k would take us hours.
Yeah, we had to start learning how to do it fast. Like the coach would call it, like as soon as you came in, they'd be like, jump it on. Well, I think they even started putting like a time, like it was like 90 seconds, like you need to.
We were the same as like, you can have a quick drink, or like bow forward, start turning, and still we quickly drinking and get stop over. Yeah, it's not great.
And did you tap turn as well?
No, we full slide.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Just rag it around,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so I guess, and again, like stepping up from 14 to 15 senior worlds, another step up. Was it difficult? Are you kind of finding your groove at that point?
Yeah, well, I think I came, so obviously we get invited to come to trials. I was invited to under 23 trials.
Mm-hmm. When's that? When do you start trialing?
February.
Okay, yeah.
February,
okay.
Yeah. Is it so right? Yeah, February. It's been so long. And then, so we'd come up for trials, and for my first few years of the team, the 23s and elites were the same week. So you're kind of that obviously had different sessions on the water.
Yeah.
But I remember we obviously break into I was in a women's 4 and 23s. So we have 2 4s out there. And then we had an injury in our 23 trialists. And then a girl my age who was on the elite development team came down to help with our training, with our seat racing. And I ended up beating her. So they swapped her. She stayed in the 23 trial, and they bumped me up to the elite trials.
Oh, cool.
To be the women's 8. So I was like, no, I'll just stay here. It's fine. Like I'm not ready. Yeah. But like you can do it. And then I ended up beating a few girls in the reserve spots, and then ended up making the 8.
Amazing.
which is, it was wild.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, ringing my mum to back of it, she made the elite team.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to 23 anymore.
It was cool.
And where was that first senior worlds?
Equally.
Okay,
I don't know how to say it.
So no, that's it. I think so.
Somewhere in France.
Somewhere in France,
It's in France.
exactly.
Yeah.
It was like this big, beautiful, like in the mountains, beautiful blue lake. It was cool.
It's a cool one. So then at that point, like on senior, then you kind of, there was funding with senior athletes?
Yes, yeah. So I kind of got paid because it's it's based off how you do it World Champs.
Sure, yeah.
So I think I must have got put on the base. There must be a base salary that must have got put on, which I'm pretty sure my parents are still giving me money because it wasn't really enough to eat and pay rent.
No one's ragged for the money.
No, I wish. But yeah, so then obviously that World Champs was Olympic qualifiers.
Uh-huh.
So we got second, which was cool, and then straight on to big bucks and rowing.
Yeah.
From going from 23 to no pay, I was rich.
Enough, like, all you really want as a rower is like to not have to have a job. Like,
exactly. Like, blows my mind. Like, even like one of my colleagues, he rows for Lee, and like, manic hours at the job, and I'm like, I don't know how you do it. So I finished work at 6. I'm like, straight to the bed.
I have so much respect.
Can't go to the gym.
Those Thames boys. They won.
Hats off.
I rode with the guy Dan Boddington. Shout out one of the guys in that Thames crew. And these guys have got full-time jobs, and they're like turning up at like 6 a.m. to do an ergo.
I physically don't know how you like excel at rowing with a job.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's one thing. Again, I guess I'm lucky. I never had to do it, and I didn't even do it with studying. I just threw myself into rowing, and was lucky enough to just be able to do that. Oh, crazy. Yeah, so I guess then talk us through like an Olympic year. How does that run differently, or?
I mean, it's pretty much like the same training. You obviously do a bit more into like physiology, like knowing about blood testing and lactate testing, all of that. But generally, like training's the same each year. Though, to be fair, it did step up. Like each year, it seemed to get harder and harder. I guess more technology comes into it, kind of what you're doing. But yeah, obviously the pressure's there. But I don't know. I feel like because I was so young, I kind of, not that I didn't care, but I was kind of like, I've got more Olympics here to me. Like, this can be, the practice one. Yeah. And even like sitting down talking to like Mahe and Eric and stuff, like your first one's always kind of like the tester, like, understand how it works. Because obviously it's so different to a World Champs. Like, obviously same 2K race and all of that.
Yeah.
But, you've got, how many other different athletes from different sports, and then like media presence and all of that. So it is very different, but yeah, same training.
Okay, I think if I got to sit down with Mahe and talk about how my nerves, I think I might get helped a bit as well. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You got
yeah. Well, I was literally like my first coach was like every dinner would make me sit with either like Mahe and then Eric, then Bondi. Well, I hated it because I was like, you guys are scary.
Yeah.
I've been looking up to you for years.
Yeah.
So it made me sit down and ask everything about it, which is good. Yeah. Because I knew going into it, I'm like, this is going to be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I was definitely more mentally prepared for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's great that you get access to like just freely ask questions and just post these athletes for information. Like obviously, like they just have unparalleled experience, and not just like in New Zealand, like worldwide. I'm pretty sure any athlete like from any country would like kill for the opportunity to do that. I know I would. Yeah.
Lottie was obviously cool. I was, coming from New Zealand, I've got some obviously great names in rowing. So yeah, I did feel privileged to be able to sit down, shoulder to shoulder with them at dinner and just chat about, Mahe's probably 20 years prior to me of rowing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's got a wealth of knowledge and definitely benefited us younger athletes to understand, what was coming ahead of us.
Yeah, that's the awesome thing. Obviously in a elite program, if you can have your athletes, if you can afford to have your athletes be in one centre, then that's a huge benefit. And we did the same in GB. Obviously, I kind of got to sit down sometimes and talk to like Pete Reed and Hodge, and again, like the guys that I was watching when I was coming up as a kid. So it's pretty cool to be able to do. I definitely think it makes a difference.
100%, yeah.
But again, we've just got so many bigger numbers, like so many more people around. So do you think? I guess you can't say that you don't realise that New Zealand is like looked at as one of the biggest rowing countries now, and like you said, like that you have those huge names and stuff. Is it like thought about, or is it seen as like superpower almost? Like, do you think like, hey, we're good at this?
Not really, but there definitely is like a presence in the team. Like when you rock up to like a World Cup or World Champs, like you kind of walk in there like, you know, head held high, you're like, we're New Zealand, which is kind of cool. Like especially being one of the younger ones, like my first, you know, 2015, my first Olympics Rio, like it was cool to just feel the power of our team. Like people definitely like look at you, be like, there's New Zealand, which is cool. Yeah, like it gives you the confidence and
the big dogs have turned up and they're here to sweep up.
No, yeah, it's cool.
I remember one year when Crocs had just come out.
Yeah.
And obviously rowers wear sliders or slippers, and a few people start wearing these Crocs, and everyone's like, oh, Crocs, they're so lame, like no one wears Crocs. And then Henley Royal Regatta comes around, and the Mahe Drazel turns up, and he's like in the boat tent, rigging his boat, and he's wearing Crocs. And everyone's like, okay, they're cool. Yeah, we can wear Crocs now. There's no way. Like Mahe's got them on, they're in. Like, I genuinely think that like that had an effect on like what people in GB were like, no, we can wear them now.
Absolutely.
And I definitely feel like Mahe and Eric and Bonnie, like they're the type of rowers that literally just didn't give a shit. Like they would wear whatever, even if I was like, that is not socially acceptable. But they just didn't care because they knew they were top dogs. Like they knew everyone was there to look at them and, you know.
Yeah, that's a fantastic attitude to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, the more times you rock up and you get the job done, and like it gives you mental fortitude.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you kind of, again, like you said, that kind of we rock up and like you notice people are like...
Yeah, but I feel like still like, I mean, some of them may be less humble, but like I feel like we're still trying, you know, I'm like definitely, you know, trying like I'm humble. I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh, they walk around like too much like we're the big dog.
Yeah, it's a balance. You need to find a
but
balance.
they definitely, I think that was their like attitude towards racing and like, I guess intimidation factor is like we are, you know, the Kiwi Pier or Mahe Drazel.
Yeah, it's a real thing, and like like so much of a sport of rowing when you're doing such a sport which, you know, takes you to your physical limits, at which point you are going to start doubting yourself, and everyone does. You can be the guy that makes someone else doubt themselves.
Yeah, 100%. Like sitting in a starting box and looking next to you, seeing Mahe, you'd be like, oh, God.
It's over.
Yeah.
The third 500 is going to come sooner or later, and I know what he's going to do.
He's going to fly. Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone knows what New Zealand's going to do in that second K. Everyone knows what's coming, yet they just can't stop it.
But then it's always wild because I feel like it never really, I mean, in my mind, it's always like, I want to be in front in the first like 500, but for some reason we were never in front until like the last K.
Yeah.
Which is never a race fan. I'm like, I want to be in front straight away. I don't worry about having to catch up with anyone.
Yeah, but getting rowed down is that awful feeling as well. Yeah. Like this,
it is nice to like chomp through someone.
Yeah.
Like,
it's such a huge psychological advantage.
Yeah.
And like it shouldn't affect you. You should be able to just go as fast as your own as you can with other people around you, but you can't.
No.
Like, so you can't underestimate like the mental like benefit of that kind of
No, that's the wild thing, is because every other country, you know, like pretty much does the same training.
Yeah.
Like you all have similar training programs. So like you being at your best is the same as someone else. It's so hard to find that like tiny bit extra.
Yeah.
And it definitely like is a mental game. Like if you can, someone else gets in front and you can get something to get back at them, then they're all going to be like, oh, this is it. Like we're done for.
I would always just create things in your head. Like when I heard Jack Bowman was talking about they had to go through the rep in Tokyo, but then they kind of were like, oh, you know, we got an extra race. We've got an extra benefit. Like no one else has had that. And it sort of made me laugh because there's been times where I've gone through the rep and the coach has been like, you've got one more race in the bag than everyone else. Like you've got an advantage. And then there's been other times when we've gone straight to the heat, straight to final from the heat. And the coach is like, you don't have to race tomorrow. You've got an advantage.
It like literally either way they say it. So, because I feel like in Tokyo, like definitely would have been nice to, or even any regatta, I feel like it is nice to have an extra race. But I feel like, yeah, obviously, as he said, it was nice in Tokyo because we had an entire year of like zero international racing.
Yeah.
And that's probably something I feel like maybe, I don't know, could have helped. I don't know, could have helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, like for the most part, for that one, obviously, people were generally in the same boat.
No, exactly. Like,
but
either
not
way,
completely. Like, obviously, there was like different systems, different countries had different abilities when they can train and stuff. So it wasn't like completely.
It was a weird year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We'll get into that one.
Yeah.
So how do you find that mental edge? Do you ever like get worried when you're like a little bit too far behind and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to bury myself so much?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like being in a women's aid is also different itself because you've got so many people, like you don't even know what's happening around you because you've got so many people who's yelling shit in the boat. And And yeah, and I know how hard my girls are at like train with me, train around me. So we can do this. And then it's just, but yeah, it does. It's not nice being behind. It's hard. And it's just, close your eyes and just hope that you can get enough strokes in there to get your head or get you up there somewhere. And then hopefully they give up or like they fade or they die.
Yeah, absolutely. They've gone off too hard. I remember like watching an interview with like Bond and Murray, and they said that they only ever got worried once, whether they were actually going to like come through and win. And that was in the 2010 men's pair final. Yeah, against Hodge and Reed. That was a great race.
Yeah.
They got close, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And then for the other thing, Eric Murray just he got asked like, so what makes you better than everyone else? And then he was like, well, I just think we're better looking.
It's so annoying.
You're at COVID.
But it's annoying in that I always realize I thought like when you hear people in an interview, they give all such kind of like a boring answer.
Yeah.
It's so boring. But then when you actually get asked a question on an interview on camera, they always ask you like really annoying questions.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so do you think you're going to win? And it's like, well, I mean, I'm not going to say no, but then also I don't want to like seem arrogant. I don't know.
Exactly. If you're racist like Eric and Bondi probably gonna be like, oh, no.
So then you have to go with like, well, anything could happen. You have to.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you find it? Did you get any interviews like that and things like that?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Like, I feel like that's a common question: is do you think you're gonna win? Like,
so annoying.
Blah blah, and then you're like, I guess we'll find out in a few days' time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think you got to back yourself. I'm like, trust my training program. I've got such a good, the Row New Zealand team is such a good, staff and team behind the team. So you just got to trust in that as much as you can.
Here's another one. Are you going to leave it all on the line?
Oh, yeah. I hope so. I hate those creatures, obviously.
Nah, I'm chill. I'm here for a chill one. Yeah.
I'm just going to push to the last 100.
So, because you mentioned going into the team and stuff, like the squad, like it's obviously a big support squad. You have like physios and physiologists.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess every country has it, but I was always like, this is a life. So we have masseuse, physio, doctors, physiologists. Like, it was great.
Yeah.
And then general staff, and like everyone was always so helpful. But yeah, I thought we were lucky. But like the British team would handle that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. No, like we had, it's great. I can be physio every day as much as I can.
Yeah.
I don't lay on the bed, get a massage.
I feel bad for the physios that they're like working like 20.
I know.
Like athlete after athlete after athlete.
Like we only done one massage a week, but then I'm like, got the physio because I'm sore. Another free massage. It was great.
Yeah.
No, it was good.
Yeah, no, same thing. And then they even at the GB Centre, they've got a kitchen and a chef now.
Yeah.
So,
oh, shit.
Yeah. Just, for like breakfast and lunch, obviously normally training like 3 sessions done. I normally would sort of leave around 4, depends on the stuff. So for breakfast or lunch, you can get food,
So we had a kitchen, we used to make our own food.
See, there you go. That's the difference. They're still making their own food.
That's it.
Yeah, no, that's obviously a big one. At one point we got like a sponsor from Nestle cereal, so like all the Nestle.
Oh yeah, we had like it was like Primo, milk. We got like sponsored milk and all that. That's very free, so I didn't get it. But we had like that sort of stuff sponsor, which is great, but no one to cook it for us.
Yeah, no, I mean like it's also it's not lost on anyone that's obviously like an amazing thing to have. But at the same time, like kind of that's the deal, isn't it? Like you're gonna push your guts out like 365 days a year, and everyone else is gonna try and do what they can to help you do it. So
no, exactly.
And again, like in this country, like post Ray Braven Pinson, like there's a big history in rowing, and like the sport's grown, and we're probably one of the most successful sports. I think probably 08 and 12. So again, like funding in this country is all based around like the lottery funding, and you get it based on how well you've done. Yeah. Which kind of seems weird. So like countries,
I guess we're the same in New Zealand, but I think we probably had a little less funding in general anyway, obviously.
Yeah.
To compare to here, but I feel like rowing as a sport was definitely lucky with the amount of funding that got pumped into us.
In this country, I think rowing gets more budget for the Olympics than the entire Winter Olympics budget, which is
quite a lot. But it's literally based on medals. Like it's like you won this many medals, you get this much money.
Yeah.
How is it kind of seen as a sport in the country in general? How is it like? Is a big support for it? Is it still kind of a bit unknown?
I think rugby is still there. I think rowing probably after Tokyo is definitely be put on a pedestal more. Like before, I mean, really, you've always had like Eric and Hamish and all that, but it's definitely more like it was only those like the Everson Dale twins, and there's like a couple that were like well-known rowers, but then no one else would be better than Ireland at. Like, you wouldn't even know there were any other rowers.
Yeah.
So obviously rugby's going to be forever a big sport. And like even netball probably got almost a bigger name. But I think in the last few years, we've definitely got rowing up there.
That's good. Yeah. I guess in the UK, it's kind of like generally like goes quiet for 3 years, and then as the Counter Olympics, everyone knows. Like in London, it was almost impossible to get tickets because anyone who was wanting tickets, well, which sport are we going to go and watch? Like, we're either going to go, they want to go and watch rowing, or we're going to go and watch sailing. No.
Yeah,
they kind of have the joke and written that we're only good at sit down sports because we're lazy.
Well, right.
Oh, that's good that it's coming up, right? Obviously, getting more in terms of, like you said, like sponsorship and like outside funding, like the team has a bit of that. Yeah,
100%. Definitely. Obviously, with the men's 8 and stuff in Tokyo, like again this year, or last year, it's got rowing out. Then funding and sponsorship wise. So hopefully going forward, I mean the team's a little bit smaller this year, so hopefully they can keep the ball rolling and getting the rowing name out there. But like Tokyo definitely got a big chunk of funding.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I would like to say, like in GB, like it's definitely one to watch now. You know, like it used to be like keep your eye on Australia and America and Germany, and like now obviously New Zealand's like solidified its place at the top. So, like I don't think anyone's going to see a New Zealand crew and not be like, oh, what are they going to pull out the bag?
Yeah, exactly. That second K is coming sooner or later. Absolutely. So you said you spend quite a lot of time training, even if you're like in a bigger boat category like an 8, you still spend quite a lot of time training in pairs. So like obviously I imagine the country's very focused on also like developing you technically and just being like a well-rounded rower, not just like a crew rower for that specific boat type. Yeah,
so like our big thing for especially for our women's 8 was always we had to be the technically best in the world because we were kind of smaller and maybe not as like beefy as other countries. So we were like, we have to be technically the best. So that was like all we focused on. So we did a lot of peer work, a lot of oar work. I guess at an 8, like very technical, but it doesn't matter as much, right? Like, it's whack it in and it still moves. But obviously at a peer, it's like the finesse of it. And so we did a lot of peer work. And even mixing it up in combinations. So like not even just bow peer. So like me and Ella, like we'd mix it up. So I was rowing with different people in the boat, trying to get us all to row like as similar as we could, right?
Mm-hmm. You can't really hide in a pair if you're technically lacking. So like for your 8, would you then like sometimes split into 4s and do like battle paddling?
Yeah, 100%. Like we probably rowed in an 8 once a week. Really? Maybe even like obviously as we got closer, we do more and more in the 8. Like 2 months out would probably be mostly in an 8, but before that, never an 8. So I love being an 8, hide in it, could do own back, But a lot in the 4.
But, I think to a certain extent that's we talked again with Ben Lewis a little bit about how there's like a certain amount of time, there's like a sweet spot for getting a boat moving quickly, and if you spend too long in it, you can kind of go over the top and come back down, and you can kind of overthink it a little bit. So I think like again, I go back to turn 3s and saying, oh, we were only in the boat 3 weeks, but when you know you've only got 3 weeks, every session becomes so important. And you have that like real sense of urgency. Whereas if you sit in this boat all year and it's November and it's just another
100%. Like it definitely like the excitement every time we're like, it's the day for the 8. We're in the 8 today, which was nice because the 8, with 8 girls, it can sometimes be pretty hard. So when the excitement was there to get in the boat, it was just always such a nice feeling. This is what we're racing in. And after like obviously the 4 days prior, like generally 8 would be like a Friday or Saturday squad piece. So finally out of the 4s, we're not battling each other. It was nice to get an 8. We're like one team, not competing.
Absolutely. But that's awesome. Like I've heard that obviously like the men's 8 for the Tokyo, like they started like swapping every pair around and like obviously giving you an opportunity to row with everyone in the squad. Like you're obviously going to like really follow the same style. So I think that's awesome because you're not just making one boat go fast, you're just learning how to be like an incredible rower. Because what if for the next Olympics, like you have to switch into a 4? You're instantly competitive. You don't have to learn how to row that particular boat type.
Exactly. And like we even tried to row like in different sets. So we'd take an 8 out and put like me and stroke or me and 6 just so we can like appreciate like other people's roles in the seat, like just to try and make a really good team like unit. So we understood like everyone's role is so important, whether you're in 2 seat or, even the cox, so like all of that we can't do without each other. So I think rowing in like we'll do one side, completely different boat. Like, obviously we race in the same, we always knew what we were going to race, seating order wise, but it was definitely good to mix it up and even give people a break. Like Jackie, take her out a stroke for a bit because it's obviously exhausting. And then, but it's good for for me to be a stroke and understand, appreciate the different role that plays versus what I'm doing at 2C.
Yeah, watching putting someone from the back of the boat in the stroke seat and be like, now you know that you're rushing, yeah? Now you know what it feels like to have 7 people fire you up.
That's true.
Yeah, it can get also a bit heavy on your back if you're in a stroke seat. So it's definitely good to just, even if you're stroking, to just go and then sit in the 2 seat and just watch what the hell everybody else is doing.
Yeah, in the 2 you can see everything.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's what you see is so different. Say you're doing the same thing, but it's such a different. I also remember being in the 7 seat as well. You can't quite watch stroke blades go in.
Yeah.
You lose the catch.
Yeah.
Whereas from 6 back, you can. Obviously, you can't be reactive, but you kind of can see.
Yeah.
And then you go 7, you're like, I can't fucking see it now.
Yeah, no, I love being a 2, so I love seeing what everyone else is doing with the blade.
Yeah.
You get off the water, you're right, and you're slow.
Yeah, just even for the squaring, you can just kind of cool that we're all doing the same thing.
We're backseat cocks. Oh, wicked. Let's talk about Rio specifically then. How did that go as an event? How did you feel going into it?
First Olympics as well. How old were you at the time?
I must have been, I just turned 21. I thought, yeah, because
That's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel going into it still felt very surreal. I think looking back now, that was so cool. But at the time, I was kind of it's just another regatta. It was so hard to ingrain that I just 3 years prior I've been in, the 23 team. I don't know. I think about it now, I was just so naive to the fact that I was at the Olympics.
Yeah, I think in some sense you probably mentally are trying not to.
Well, yeah, probably that too as well. I don't want to, because obviously it's such a heightened event and emotions. Yeah,
another race.
It was stressful, and obviously because our women's peer Rebecca and Jen at the time, Rebecca was a stroke of the 8. They were stern pair of the 8 as well as in the peer.
Yeah,
and eventually it was just they were, I don't know if we can be stroke of the 8 and row peer.
Mm-hmm.
So the 6 weeks prior to, maybe 6 weeks, or a few months prior, we were practicing putting me and one other girl in stroke to see how it worked. And I remember doing this one session. It was my first time being you might be in stroke, and we did. And honestly, must be 25. It was something ridiculous about 500 meter pieces, but different race. It wasn't all a race pace. It was just to see how it's going to go. And then I remember getting called in for a meeting after. It was you're going to be a stroke seed. And I was oh, fuck. I don't know if I can do that. But again, I was this is cool. I can do it. Even all the girls are got that, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I was for 21, I can't be leading,
When you've got older, more experience.
I know, and I've got all these older girls behind me, and Rebecca Scout, obviously I'd looked up for to her for years. I remember when I was in 2012, I must have gone to Mardi Cup, and they were there after London Olympics, and I remember I got this photo. It was so embarrassing. And I was in my school uniform, braces, getting a photo with her, and she was in the Olympians tent at a big school regatta, her and Joe Sullivan. And I've got this photo with them.
That's not embarrassing, that's amazing.
And then how many years later, trialing in a woman's 8 with her.
And be I've got the keys, get behind me.
Remember there, she hates me, she has such a resting bitch face. And I was she doesn't want this young kid in here, why am I here? But then, yeah, it was cool. I think I remember rooming with her. I think I roomed with her on camp, so I was well, I've just taken her seat.
Yeah.
But obviously she wanted it. But no, it was cool. And then, yeah, I guess arriving at Rio, yeah, I was shit, this is happening. With everything going on, but it was a very tense time. We did probably go downhill a bit towards the regatta, which is a shame. I think it was a tension between that which peer was selected for the doubling up, which definitely took the toll on the boat, and our coach definitely probably didn't handle the pressure very well. Obviously, we had a different boat, so we get our boats straight from Fleepy when we come over, so it's obviously not going to be exactly the same. And I remember, like, we went out for our first training run. I was like, something's not right. And he's like, well, I've measured exactly the same. And I was like, something is just not right. Like, I can't get right out to catch. And he's like, it's fine. Just, push stuff out there. I was like, it's not right. And he just like, and I moved, my girls in the boat, just move it, like, put it where you feel comfortable. Then I remember like getting in the next day and I was like, he's moved it back. I'm like, it's back to where it was yesterday. And like that sort of stuff, I was like, I'm the one in the boat. And there was that sort of stuff that kind of inspired everything a little bit. So it was definitely, it was a tough time. But again, like, it was such a cool experience. Like, and to me, I was like, well, I didn't care, but I was like, I'm at the Olympics. Like, this is cool. Taking in like my first games. But yeah, I think things could have gone a bit better for us.
Mm-hmm. It's good. And you did it again. We spoke to so many Olympians again in Britain because like done so well for so long. Like to have crews like it's to not win gold can very much like have to even like the media and the nation to get they didn't win it. They should have won it. So like it can get easy to just kind of feel down about the result and forget the fact that you're Olympian. And
like, I think it was, I don't know. Like I look back and I'm even talking to some of the girls now, like, they were still like very, I guess, disappointed or like angry that we got fourth. But like even the rest of like New Zealand, like this is so cool. Like our first women's 8, we'd obviously had men's 8 go to the Olympics before. Like we're the first like ever New Zealand women's 8 to go to Olympic Games. So I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like we got fourth, but I'm like, at least we went like last. Like
that's a final. That's great.
Exactly. That's so I was like, this is cool. Like we're fourth in the world at Olympic Games, and like I think we must have been like, I don't know, I'm gonna say 1 little bit seconds off third. Which like, that's pretty hard.
Yeah. Fourth is a tough place.
But it was like I guess I was just had the attitude because I was young and I was like, this is epic. Like we just got fourth at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Destroyed it.
It's again, we've talked about it, it's a recurring theme. The reason why you have gone on and done better is because you're the kind of person that isn't quite happy with fourth. And the person who's like, well, fourth, that's great for me. Yeah. Probably isn't going to go back and have another go and try and do better. So.
Yeah. Like, obviously I'm never happy with fourth and I'm like, still, like even now, I'm like, I just wish we, could have done better here or there.
How do you think the final race, like the race went?
It definitely, I think it was, we had a bad heat, which we had to go through the red. And then the red was, I think it was really windy because one of the days got cancelled.
Yeah, it was super windy.
Yeah, so then I think they
moved the finals to like Saturday as well.
Something weird. Obviously, because the whole Olympics is, I still hate this, is run by the media. So like timing, you can only, I think because the 2 of the days were like delayed because of the wind. So it was like, and then they couldn't race after 11 or something silly like that. So they had to cancel it to the next day because the media move on to do another sport, which is like ridiculous because but I understand it because they're obviously trying to, that's how they make the money. But and then I think we had a really bad rep just with the wind and all of that, and then put us in a bad lane. Like we were obviously last seeded in the final, so we got the worst lane on the finals day, which didn't help. Yeah. Really windy. I honestly don't really remember how it went, to be fair. I feel like I blocked it out. But I don't remember being like super disappointed, but I think how we got there was just very disappointing.
Yeah. So it's probably because you just left it all on the line. So you just, tunnel vision, you didn't see anything else around you. But as for the rest of like the Olympics, like obviously you probably got tickets to go and watch some other sports as well. What was the village like?
Yeah, honestly, like it's so cool. And I'm glad because I do feel not sorry, but for some of my girls that were in the Tokyo 8 and they were a bit younger, didn't go to Rio. Like they didn't get to experience like a true Olympics, and it's so cool. Like you obviously have your little Olympic house, or how many floors on those high-rise buildings, and then we get how many tickets, and they divvy it up between us to go to whatever sports. And obviously, you can buy tickets as well. But I remember like sneaking into all the sports with our like competitors' pass for rowing, because obviously people that were like running it didn't really understand it properly, so we'd like sneak into like athletics. So I remember watching like Usain Bolt but we were like right on the start line. Like that was cool, and like being in the dining hall with like Djokovic and Michael Phelps. I was like, that's cool.
Oh, that's super cool.
That's wicked. Yeah.
It was cool. And then the village itself, like little community of like all these athletes, and, like you'd be walking to the dining hall, there'd be like skate parks and like not like boxing rooms, like little outdoor boxing places of people like training boxing, just like in the in the village grounds.
I love what Henry said about it. It was like it's like you're in there and you're walking past all these different teams, and like you're all on different teams, but like you're all kind of on the same team. Yeah, because you're all living your dream.
That's literally what we were told. Like when we first got there, we had like a huge New Zealand team like sit down, and they were like, you're obviously going to see like famous athletes, but they're all literally here for the same reason. So like, please don't go past them. You gotta remember that you're here the same level as them, even though I'm so not sure.
How many roughly in total athletes would New Zealand send to?
Oh, I honestly have to Google it.
No idea.
No idea. A lot.
A lot.
It was hard because obviously they've filtered them in. So like, say whatever sports, obviously we race in the first week, which is great.
Yeah.
The whole second week. But some athletes wouldn't race until or train, really until the second week.
Yeah.
So they would be out of the village at another venue, I guess, and then come in as we rolled out, or like as some people rolled out. So you never kind of got the entire team. But obviously there's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, just hundreds, is that a lot?
A few hundreds. Yeah, no, I think for London, Britain had like 550 or something.
Yeah.
Obviously, like bigger country, bigger team, but yeah.
That's a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah.
The dining was huge. The food wasn't that great in Rio though. It was literally it was almost like pizza, pasta, and like hot chips, fries, and then some salad. It wasn't great for us.
I remember some
That's
stories
quite nutritious.
No, it wasn't good.
from Sydney saying for the Sydney Olympics they had to ship in 30 tons of bananas or something. There was the quantities of food. Yeah. A banana's such a common one, isn't it? That everyone will grab a banana.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, and even you'd have all the drink fridges around if it's free, which is wild, free Powerade, free Cokes. Again, not great for athletes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool. Just that whole thing. They're in this little village and they've got McDonald's and all that sort of stuff that it's just free. You just walk in, grab it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like to hear that it's as good as you imagine.
Yeah, it was. Obviously I had no idea what it I knew, obviously seen the Olympics, I've read about it, and you grow up going to primary school, hearing about it, watching it at school, and then to actually be there, this is cool. Yeah.
And in terms of racing, obviously you've raced at World Championships prior to that. Is there tension at the start line? When they're reading the crews out a little bit different. The hairs, are they any more electric than? Is it what you would expect, or?
It definitely. I think once you're at the Olympics versus World Champs, once you're on the water in the start line, it just seems because you're kind of away from the rest of the sports, it does seem like a normal 2K regatta. But regardless, it's still very stressful.
Yeah.
No, I don't like sitting there. As soon as the buzzer goes, obviously in sweet, everything goes out, But when you're warming up to go into, or you're sitting in that 10-minute zone before you go in the starting box, I'm I hate this.
It's horrible, yeah.
I'm the nerves, I just want to go back.
Yeah.
But I also love that. I love that, but it's awful.
I think
it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it is.
From Pinson's book, there was a bit where he said that 10-minute holding bit, he was He's felt so nervous that if the gods of rowing had come down and offered him the silver, then he's I think I might have taken it.
Yeah, you honestly would. It's so, it is awful. You feel sick, and the whole time you're this is do or die. You can't go back, can't do any more training. How you are in this moment is.
You're basically
out there
fighting your fight or flight response.
Yeah,
your body is this is insane, get me out of here.
I know.
And having to just sit there and ignore it. And
it's so weird when you think about it like that. I wouldn't look back now. I'm thinking about those 10-minute in the holding pen before you go in. But yeah, that's so awful. And even just backing into the starting blocks, and then you've got the people obviously holding your boat, and they fuck it up, and they miss your boat, and you're drifted all over here, and I'm this is a nightmare. There's all that added stress, so you got to try and forget about it because you've got this one job to do.
Yeah, but as soon as that buzzer goes, it's game face on.
Exactly.
You're in the zone. Yeah.
That buzzer used to freak me out. I don't know. Again, I've forgotten if I told this story, but we had the buzzer is quite a specific noise to go boop, that kind of noise when you go, and the little red light goes from red to green. And I've been at under 23 Worlds, and a week later I came home, and I went and played some golf with my brother. I didn't play a lot of it, but we got a little buggy cart, so lazy rower. And halfway around the course, first bit where I'd kind of been in this point where I had to reverse it, and there's a little switch where you put it into reverse. But when you put this when you put it in reverse, it makes this beep noise, and it was the same noise, this noise hit. Honestly, I my legs went it was my body was stop, go. I was no, it's okay, I'm not in a race. I mean, like some form of like PTSD.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like I feel like that buzzer start thing is always such a, not controversial, but I feel like do you watch the light or do you go with the sound?
I used to watch the light.
Yeah, see, we were always told to watch the light because
Yeah.
it's obviously just quicker. Well, I don't know, but
By a fraction.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you've got some people watching the light, and so and obviously naturally you go, like the sound is so, like the buzz is so aggressive that it just you go on that. But then everyone kind of goes at different times, you know?
You're right. That certain noise for it is aggressive. It's aggressive.
And then
Obviously, you want it to be loud. You don't want to miss it.
like really so calm. Like when the people, the like race commentator, whatever you call them, like call out the names of each country. Like it's so like formal and like not fancy, but like, you know, and then the buzzer is just like.
I've watched some footage of myself afterwards as well. Like you can see like when you're warming up, like doing the same. Like I'm watching stuff like check my glasses.
Yes, I always keep my rigger like 100 times.
And I'm just doing this thing like, and I'm, what are you doing? Like, yeah, but you.
True, I do this with my hands, like make sure my hands aren't wet, or like check my blade, and then literally do my rigger like 100 times, like feet.
Slap your thighs, slap your arms, etc. You can see like tennis players doing it, but just before they take a serve, like Rafael Nadal, like he's got like this weird ritual where he just has to like tag on both his shorts, like do this like 3 times, etc., and then just take the serve. It's exactly the same.
It's just and I think it's just anything to fill the time.
Yeah, it is. I just forget about it. You have to sit there.
Yeah. So post Rio, I guess sometimes I ask people, "Oh, did you think you were going to have another one?" But I guess at 21, you were like, obviously.
Yeah, and I think obviously after getting fourth, I was like, gotta go again. But yeah, at this point, I was like living my life, like rowing such a sweet lifestyle. You know, just
early 20s, definitely.
Yeah, you're just training. Like we train in the morning. You know, my friend and I lived with Beth. We'd just either go like to cafes all day or go shopping. Like, we were so bad, but it was so good because we paid so much. We're used to it. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. But no, I definitely knew I was going to do another one for sure.
And then kind of going into that next Olympiad, obviously not being the newbie anymore. Was there any more sense of like taking on any? Did you have a high turnover, or was it still quite?
Well, pretty much like every year we'd have like 3 to 4 new people.
Okay.
Yeah, so we never had. It was only 2019 to Tokyo that we had the same. Mm-hmm. But every year prior to that, we'd always have like 3 or 4 new people every year. So it was kind of, and it was always a varying age. Like some people coming in would be like older than me, and then they'd get dropped out by someone younger. So it was always like kind of different. But I felt we never really had. I mean, I was still like, obviously experience-wise, like there's 4 of us that had been there the entire time. So we definitely felt like a sense of, you know, like we'd been in this 8 for how many years. But there's still like every year it was a different setting order. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, definitely 2019 8 from then on was like such a good group, like mix of group. Like no one's super like I'm the boss type of thing, which I think worked well in, I don't know, maybe not the girls' group, but it worked well for us. Like we were all kind of on the same playing field. And we obviously had like all this peer, so they'd come in and they'd be like, you know, this was good or whatever. And I think that did help having someone, like people coming in and out, because it was kind of refreshing, like a different change.
New energy as well.
Yeah, exactly. We were like, this is, you know, Grace and Kerry, like they're coming in like big boost of power, and obviously just, you know, they knew what they're doing. So
what was the reasoning between having multiple times having a pair that were doing a pair and an 8 as well?
I think it was literally sheer numbers, like sheer volume. I just don't think we had enough. Like the girls below our 8, including Kerry and Grace, just weren't maybe like, obviously weren't on Kerry and Grace's level. And I think it just, and then prior, if we had an 8 without the pair, we wouldn't really have reserves. So I think it was just purely like, I mean, physiologically, they were like, well, our team were like, Kerry and Grace can do both, it's fine. And well, we knew they could do both. Yeah. So I think it was just trying to stack our 8 as much as we could. And at the end of the day, obviously, Pierre's priority. So if, like, come to the day they couldn't handle it, they just wouldn't do it.
Right.
But, we were just lucky enough that they could do both.
Yeah.
It's obviously good for us.
Oh, it's good. I mean, in rowing, you just train so much, you end up getting so fit. If someone just says run a marathon at random, you'd be like, it's annoying, but I can do it. Let's just go and do it. So, like, at a regatta, obviously, like, I'm pretty sure, like, finals day at the Olympics are, like, split between different days. So you probably didn't have to, like, race multiple days.
No, never. It was always pretty much built for, like, you could double up. And they would always juggle it a little bit if, like, need be. But even, like, that's, like, Henley. Like, they always do the thing before, the night before, so they can stagger races depending. But yeah, it was never an issue. Like, they definitely trained more in the pier than in the 8. So we did, like, our reserves were, like, in our 8. Like, they were part, like, we could not have done it without them because most, there's probably, like, maybe once a week we'd row with the pier in the 8, and that would just purely be, like, a 10K paddle. So our girls, I think we even might have, or maybe not this year, but one year we did race with our reserves in 1 or 2 of the World Cups, just because obviously it's a 3-day regatta, so it's a lot of racing for, pretty much 2 races a day. But we would obviously go into our World Cups, like our focus in the 8 would be to make it like straight through to the final. Like that would be our main goal. Like, we wouldn't even obviously worry about where we're going to get the final. So we need to get straight through. So Kiwi and Grace have won this race for their pier. Because obviously, they were priority, the pier. And we wanted to make it easy on them because we wanted them to be in a race. So we were like, we have to make them want to be in this 8.
It's definitely an interesting one to think that, obviously, again, like a reminder that you don't have that depth in squad like in Britain. There's always numbers to fill all the seats, and there's always spares. So it's like not something to think about, but also really good, I guess, for those athletes like the spare pair that you're bringing up to constantly actually be able to row at that level.
Oh, 100%. And like even when we break into 4s, like most of our training 4s and piers, like they'd be in those 4s or in those piers. Like Kerry Grace, if we were in, and again, they would generally like once every 2 weeks come on a 4 with us, but generally they would be in their pier when we're in smaller boats, so we need the reserves and the piers and 4s with us. And like all of that inter-squad racing would be done with the reserves because the pier would just focus on the pier.
Yeah.
So yeah, which is like good for the reserves and like building them for like this year for now.
They're in there now.
Yeah, they're in there now.
Awesome.
So obviously you started the Olympiad probably not knowing like which boat you're going to be racing in for the Tokyo, but like in 2019 at World Championships, you won gold in which boat?
The women's 8.
The women's 8, yeah?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I always knew that I was going to be in the women's 8 because I've always wanted to race women's 4, but we didn't have, like, our priority had always been pier 8 4 if there was a 4. There was a 4. But, yeah, it was always, so I was like, not going to be in pier. So I was like, I just always knew I was forever going to be in the 8.
Yeah. So 2019. So obviously, presumably there maybe had been some World Cup or Senior World Cup wins and stuff?
Yes. Yeah. So we, I think we must have won both because we only went to the 2nd and 3rd that year. And I think we stayed over. I think we won the 2nd and 3rd. I might have to fact check that one.
That's all right. But so going into 2019, confident?
Yeah. I think we like knew that we had a good shot. We had a good team going, a good thing happening. New coach, we had Gary Hay coming to coach us. Obviously the pier in there. I think, we knew we were going fast, so we knew where we should be placed, like speed-wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the rest
just...
how did the final go? Didn't lead from the start.
No, we did not. Obviously the Aussies were out.
Yeah.
For like a boat length or something.
Okay,
quite a lot, I think. And then I think we were pretty much like Australians, and then us, I think we were out on the rest of the field. But it was definitely like, I was coming back to me now as I think about it. Like, it was really cool. Like, it must have been, I'm going to say, like, the last 500, 250, where we started really chewing through there, because I'd have gone out so hard.
You in the stroke seat?
No, I was in 2 seat.
Oh,
I was in 2 seat. Yeah. No, I was in 2 seat. Back in the humble 2 seat. But yeah, like, which is cool. I love being there because you can see everything happening. So I'm like, I'm on this like Australian 8, like we're getting back. And like that was so cool to slowly like on the next seat. And I remember like Caleb, our cox, in there, like I've got, 8 seat, I've got 7 seat, I've got 6 seat. Like that was just so cool in the moment, being like, we're really chewing through the seat.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I think we just timed everything so perfectly. Like it's always hard to be behind, right? Like, but it's trying to trust out. Like our whole like big thing was we don't have to be first in the first 500. Like we want to be first over the line. So I think it's like trusting the process. Like we know how fast we can go for over 2K. Like we knew, we weren't going to die. So it's like trying to just be happy to be behind now. Like we've still got 750, 500 meters to go, which in the time seems like not enough time. But like it's still enough to gain. I think the Aussies just, which is a cool thing. Obviously they were like, we need to get out of these Kiwis because, we
know what's coming.
Yeah, so I think that was cool in the sense that they were like, we want to get out as far away as possible, but like slowly chewing them back was, it was cool.
And when did you get through them?
I think it must have been like, honestly the last 200,
Red
like
Bull.
last 50, yeah. Literally, I think it was almost the Red Boys that were like definitely rare. With that, their barrel might have been on maybe like our 5 seat or 4 seat or something. So we definitely were good by then.
Yeah.
But it was still like, you just never know, right? You just got to keep going. And like at that point, we were pretty like, we were exhausted.
So
But it was like, we just have to keep going until we cross that line.
cross it, and how did Bill cross the line?
Yeah, it was cool. It was very cool because obviously Kieran Grace had just won gold, I guess the day before in the pier. And then gold again in the 8. Yeah, it was cool.
Good.
It was cool.
Good. I love asking questions.
And I think that sort of like winning from that sort of race was even better.
Yeah.
Like it's, obviously nice winning an entire race, but to win it from actually having to work really hard for it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then putting, showing that you.
Yeah. Like showing how dominant we were because we actually had to like make back how many like seats on the Aussies to get that gold.
So in terms of your race plan, is there like a massive increase over the second K where like you're gaining more speed and trying to like obviously go through crews? Because like if you're gonna do a burst at your race pace, like you have to be careful not to cross that red line and not to go too far above, like because you're gonna pay for it sooner or later.
So like we were always trying to be. We knew like we were pretty much racing full speed. Like obviously our thing was we didn't want moves, so we do training like pieces, and the moves that we do in like a squad piece was so dramatic that we obviously weren't working hard enough like the move to be that big. Like we were like we want to be pretty much like not redlining it, but like being on that for most of the race, and then a move is just like almost a sharpen on the blade or like something technical. Like that was what our focus was, that our moves were like a technical change, like sharpening or like rotating out more, like something like that to get advantage that way, because we were already we were hoping we were already at our peak speed.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the aim. But I think it wasn't like we got quicker. We obviously would have got quicker, but like generally I think over the race we'd be pretty much flatlining it. But it was just like technical changes and like backing ourselves that, like we can last longer than they can as long as we stay technically with it.
For the most part, when in the second half of the race, when you see a crew come through, a lot of the time it's actually the crew in front slowing down.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. 100%.
And I think it shows like a lot more racing intelligence and confidence in yourself that you can wait later.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of the crews that maybe don't feel that they've got a chance.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
Like Australia, right? We're going to go out and we're going to put as much as we possibly can on them.
Yeah.
So we know they're going to come back.
Yeah.
So to have the ability to be like, basically to feel like we know we're incredibly fast.
Yeah.
0 length up, they've gone to.
It's such a hard thing to like have that attitude, like that mindset though, and like, which I think I'm like so proud of the girls for like just really trusting in that, because it is okay. That's what we built such an incredible like team unit, like culture within us, that we all like 100% trusted each other and like knew that, like, because I feel like it's such a weird thing to be comfortable being behind. But it's like, and like even the trust of the coxswain, like obviously he has probably the most important role in the whole boat, and like trusting that, like he would be like, we're not moving yet, and we were like, we need to move now, like we've got 200 meters to go, but like having that trust to be like him, like he's incredibly good coxswain, like to trust him to be like, like we would 100% move when he would us to move. Like I've in my 8s in the past, we'd been like people out of the boat would be like, we need to go now, like yelling it, which is like no help because no one can hear them. And you've got some people going and some people not. But I think it's just that sheer trust in the coxswain, like we're behind, but he's like, we're happy to be here, like it's fine. Like I know that you guys will do it, but we're not moving yet.
I mean, a great example, obviously, it's like Bond and Murray for 4 years. Yeah. Every crew had a pop at him, and every crew like, well, we'll do the first 500 quick, or we'll have them in the second 500, we'll do second. Yeah. And they just had the confidence on it. And like, so I remember being in Lucerne and watching come through halfway with like just 3 random pairs. I don't know who it even was ahead of them, and you're like, yeah, but they ain't gonna finish that way.
No, exactly. Like you've got people being like, oh my God, like you can hear people chattering around the boat park, like Bonnie and Eric are being beaten. But it is just and I think we definitely drew a lot of like wisdom from them and like that attitude, and like to just be fully confident. Know like you've trained how many years for this. Well, I guess not. You train every year for each event, but like you train an entire year for this one race or 3 races, whatever it may be. Which isn't really a lot. Like 3 roughly 6 races, and you train like an entire year. It's crazy, but it's like fully trusting and knowing exactly what you can do.
Absolutely. Football players, they play a game every 3 days. Rowers only have like 4 chances, so you have to show up.
Which is like, I almost hate it as well. Like, I trained so hard to get to do the fun part, like how many times?
Yeah, that's one of the kind of sucks of taking rowing to the absolute top. It's the amount of times you race goes down a lot.
But then also the races that you do domestically, they're just, once you've been at the top level, they're just not going to be that fun. Like, yeah, it's a formality. Turn up. Like, unless you, you catch 15 boat stoppers, then you might potentially lose. But like, even if you just chill for the first 15 seconds of the start, it's like, okay.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess, like going into after winning gold, and confidence then in 2020 would be high. And then it all sort of
COVID.
Comes falling down.
How did that all play out?
Vividly. I remember like living, it was like me, Beth, and one other rower, like was sitting, it was like a national, we obviously heard about this coronavirus, and we're like, what is it? I had remember people like messaging me, being like, the Olympics aren't happening, like random people, like friends, but like not rowers. I'm like, what are you on about? Like, yes, obviously they're going to go ahead. They will not cancel the Olympics because of some bug. Like, you're crazy. Like, how much money goes into these games and how much, like, years of organisation. And then I remember, obviously nothing to do with the Olympics, but it was like for New Zealand, like our Prime Minister was like scheduled to announce whether we're going to lockdown on like this Monday. We're like sitting around the TV like, hey, we've got to go to training in like 10 minutes. Wait for this like huge announcement. And then she's like, at whatever time on Tuesday we're going into level 4 lockdown. Like, what? We were kind of like looking at each other like, shit. We go down to the lake. And I remember we all got there like, what's happening? Like, everyone's kind of like chattering. And our coach is actually with his bag out of it. And he's like, you either stay here and train or you go home. Like, I'm on the next, flight home. And we're like, what? You can't just leave us. And he was obviously like panic mode, like, what's happening? He's like, I'll send a schedule out. Like, we're talking about it over the phone.
So he didn't live in New York?
No, he lives in South Island. Like, he lived in Christchurch. So like, from South Island and me. And I remember like, we were all kind of like sat on the border and be like, what the fuck's happening? And I'm pretty sure one of our team managers like brought in a bowl of champagne, so we don't need this, we might as well have a champagne. We're all sitting like, do we go home? Do we not? Because obviously quite a few people did stay in their flats because they were like, we want to trade to either be here. And I was like, and I knew that most of my flat were going home, so I was like, all right, because they all lived like in the North Island, so it's easy for them to go home. And I don't want to be stuck in my flat alone. So then I was like, maybe like, shit, what do we do? And I'm pretty sure we got like all the flights had stopped. I got the very last ferry out of the North Island at like 2 a.m. on Tuesday or something before the lockdown. And there was like 3 of us like crammed into one of the guys' utes, traveled back home. But yeah, it was just my mum and dad. So they lived in Mayfield, but dad like managed a farm in Twizel, which was like great, loved Twizel. So I was like, hey, I'm going to go live on the farm with dad. And I organised like an herb to be sent to me, brought my bike and all of that down. And then obviously I thought I was going to be there for like 2 weeks. But I think I was there for like 9 weeks, probably isn't as long as what you guys had. But 9 weeks later.
So you had 9 weeks until you went back and then you started training together.
And then I think, obviously, they literally wanted to replicate it a year. So like we did what would have been planned. So we obviously had like, I think he must have come back for like, we had 4 weeks back at Carapio before we went on like post-world holidays. So I think those 4 weeks we did like a replica regatta and all of that because they wanted our bodies to go for the same like physiological stuff. So I mean, I love lockdown was definitely kind of my turning point of how much longer I wanted to row for. Just being on the farm, like because I went to boarding school, I never spent that much time with my family, so it was just me and dad on the farm doing farm things like herding the sheep and doing stuff with the deer. It was wild. But I was like to dad, I was still training like because obviously at this point the Olympics had to be cancelled. So I was like, I've got the Olympics in how many days? And it was like 200 or whatever. Or probably less. And I was like, I've got to train dad. And he'd like wake me up at like 6:30. He's like, I'm gonna go get the deer and like do you want to come help me? Like be 4 hours or like 3 hours max. I'm like sweet. And then like 6 hours later, I'm like, Dad, I need to train. So I'd be training at like obviously when you're training normally you train like 2 p.m, finish at 5, go to bed at 6. But I'd be like finishing training at like 10 years later to fit these like 2-3 hour sessions and because dad had been on the farm all day. But it was cool. I was like, it was refreshing. It was nice because obviously spent 10 years in this like monogamous life of rowing. It was nice to realize that obviously it wasn't real fun, but there is life, besides rowing day in day out.
To rowing, yeah.
I think there's not many things that can beat nature, especially like being at the farm. It's just
it was, and like doing different sessions. Like I think in because going into 2019 World, so just going back a bit, I went through like so obviously trial again, and we were like pretty set and this is going to be the 8. Then I remember going into trials, and I got rung the night before so we did like a week of trials, like an erg test, and then and my 4 days of like time trial, and then on the last day we had like a 2K like race, and that's when like the crews that are being selected, but they just do a race just like check. And then the night before I got rung up being like, can you come down and have a meeting? And I was like, sure, it's weird. And they were like, because there was an injury in the 4, so they couldn't, they were like, we need the board to approve this 4, so like, can you race in the 4? And I was like pretty upset because I was like, I'm in the 8. And they're like, no, as soon as it's over, like, you'll be back in the 8. And then races 4, and I was like pretty mad to be there. Like I could have been a better person, but anyway, races 4, I had a really good race, it was fine. It was obviously again the third priority boat, so it wasn't like the top athletes. And then we had all the sweet girls and sculling girls were called into a meeting, or just a sweet lady called into a meeting after the time trials, and we're like, so the 8's going to stay the same, how's it was today, the 4 will stay the same. And I was like so bad up. I was like, are you serious? Because obviously they just told me I'd go back in the 8. And then I remember getting so angry and like calling the manager, being like, getting meeting the selectors, like, this is not what they said. And they were like, oh, we don't care, like this girl's bigger, more designed for an 8, but I'm in 2 seat of the 8, like that's small people sit in the 2 seat, like she can't be in 2 seat. In that period of time, they were like, oh, we don't care, like this is what it is. So this whole time, and then this girl ended up getting injured, but she was already injured, and they had a reserve race at the 8. So I was like, you'll fill in for the 8 for now, and I'm like, I'm not being reserved for this 8, like nah. And then she was still injured going into World Cups, and I raced in 2 seat in the World Cups, and that's when we won both World Cups. So they were like, okay, the 8 will stay how it is now. So I was always like, thank gosh. Which is like, yeah, I mean, it was hard because obviously all the girls like, we wanted to say how it was prior, like with Emma in it. But, got the coaches who don't really care. And it was hard because it was the same, like, ergs, like, she'd have been an erg, but, like, on water, like, I would always, like, I never lost her once, but it was just purely because of her size, like, more built for an age. So anyway, so going into lockdown, I, like, obviously 2019 worked out really well, but it was just such a tough time that I'm like, I never want to, like, have to deal with something like that again. Even though it worked out well, but I was just so unhappy.
Yeah, I think it's funny, I spoke to Jack about it. There's one thing he was saying, it was to start with in your own career, sort of ignorance is bliss.
Yeah,
and it's like, just go out and find it. And then the more you realise how much of your soul you have to give to get somewhere, the more trepidation there is to put yourself back in that place again.
Yeah,
and it gets to the point, it's like, no, like, I know like I'm going to have to like use up a piece of me.
Yeah. Like I think if that happened to me in my first 2 years, I'm like, oh, well, that's right. I'll private hard to be in there next year. But once you spent like, already 8 or not 8, probably like 6 years of my life working so hard for this one boat, I was like, no, like this is, and it just hurts so much more. And then I think, so going into like COVID, I was like, this is sweet, like not in a net on net, on water basis, like literally was an erg every day, which I don't really love an erg. So that was hard.
No one loves an erg.
Like, and because we were literally doing the same, like on water sessions on an erg. So we'd do like, 30-minute warm up and then a like hour and a half, 2-hour erg session, and then another 30. I don't think I ever did the warm down. Rather, I'm not taking on an extra 30 minutes of warm down. I was like, I'm going straight home.
Yeah.
That was cool. And then
I am not surprised you didn't choose to do that. Like that is so long. Like how much your back would have been put under like extreme pressure from the erging.
Yeah, like definitely they did it pretty well. Like I think, and again, like they got us back after because I was like our girls aren't gonna do all these ergs. Like there was like we'd have like Zoom meetings every day, and like most of them would have the physiologists and all of those, and then we're like, what is happening? Like this is ridiculous. Like this is not sustainable. Like we're gonna break our backs. This is crazy. And then they'll like just trust it. Like obviously if you're injured, but like we'd obviously have like stretching stuff, like trying to be as good as we can on that sort of stuff. But they were like, this will make you your best. And like coming back, they like, looked at all like, because I obviously had to like record everything and send like data in to make sure we were doing it. And I remember like coming back and they like sat us down, and our physiologist was like, because she was like this amazing Irish lady, Caroline, and she was like, you girls are the only like squad that did like the entire ERG program. Like I think it was like 99-95%, whereas like half the other crews were like literally 60-70% of the program. And like we were like, this is cool. And it was such a hard time. It was so cool to know that. I think that also brought us even closer, knowing how hard this, like how much we complained about this training program, but we all still did it. Like, no, you know, we're part of a Women's Day, we have to do it for each other. And that was definitely cool. So I think COVID was a weird time, but it helped everything in general.
That's the best thing about a Big 8. You've got all your friends.
Yeah.
You can't let them down.
Yeah.
So you know you're going to like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Shh, I've got to do it.
Yeah, and it was cool, like, obviously, you know, when the tensions are high, you're on the water, like, battling in fours. But then because we didn't have any of that battling of fours, like, we'd actually be like, miss each other, be like, should we have a little Zoom call? Like, which we normally would leave the water and be like, I'll see you again until tomorrow. But it was nice, like, in that sort of sense, it definitely brought us closer as a crew, which was nice.
That's good.
So in general, training away from the facility only lasted 9 weeks, you said?
I think it was about 9 weeks, yeah, like, 3 months. It wasn't... Yeah, I mean, it felt like really long, but I guess comparison to what we talked about with when I talked to other athletes in other countries, like they've been there for so long.
I mean, this with the GB, there's probably similar for the GB team in terms of like completely training on their own, but then we had a lot of restrictions for a lot longer. But like, elite sport was kind of outside of, they were allowed to train.
Yeah,
special passes, etc.
Yeah, that was the same as us, and there was definitely like a lot of controversy how like we could go out. Well, for a while, so we came back and had like 4 weeks back for our post-world holidays. But like those 4 weeks were like weird. Like we could only do like household rowing. So like myself, which I was lucky again because I lived with a bow scientist. So I just go out for a piano. Like most of the girls would be in singles. So I had to bring in a few random singles or like doubles just to make up enough boats, purely because there was so many random households. Or you could like join with another household, but like we just do a pair pretty much every day. And like obviously certain people in the gym at a time, weights at home, like all of that, ergs and weights at home.
You just do what you can do, don't you? I mean,
exactly.
That's pretty much why you're where you are, because you've made do with what you've got and made
but
the
it
best
was
of
such
it.
like wild, like weird time. Like it was kind of different and cool and like mixed up 7 years of the same old stuff.
Yeah.
Like you just wake up and like you go, oh, should we do it now or do it later? Like it just already matter.
That's quite nice.
Just so cool. Sleeping, just sleeping every day. It's so nice.
And then talking about ergs and injuries and stuff, did you ever really have an injury in your career? Did you ever struggle too much with them?
I never had like any serious injuries. I had like random little, like I went through phases, like this weird thing. I had this like infected knee somehow. Like I don't know what happened. So I was out for like a few weeks with like this random swollen knee and like nothing actually injured. It was just weird little things. Yeah. So I had like sore backs and like hips here and there, but it'd be like just a few weeks on the bike.
Yeah.
Because I always struggled to like hold weight. So I'd always, like some weeks, and build weeks, I might do like the girls might do like a 60-minute erg, but I do it on the bike or something, just to offload like my back or that sort of stuff. But no, overall it's pretty lucky.
And then I heard a little bit about when you were talking to CrossFit about how the programs were individualized a little bit.
Yeah.
I found interesting because it's probably one thing in the GB team where it's kind of, this is the program. And like, so for me, like going in as my first year, sort of went in 2012 as like a young, just come out under 23s, and like being on the same program with some guys been in the team for 8 years.
Yes.
And that was brutal.
Yeah. Like that was what it was from like my entire career until probably, I would say 2019, or maybe a bit before that. We had Caroline. She started to like do more research into like lactate levels and all of that, like how everything affected different, and even women, like your periods and all that sort of stuff, like how that affected trainings. So like a few of us girls did like trials of like, we had to like every day like write how we felt on this like, app, or like record how we felt and like whether we were on our periods or all this sort of stuff. And they started to like personalize a lot more towards that, which I think was good. And they're doing it even like, obviously now we've got 2 girls in the team with like babies, like that sort of stuff. So it's like personalizing like that. So like there'd be a couple of us that would, I guess, not get tired more easily, but we didn't need to do like physiologically, we didn't need to do as much training. So like some girls would do on a Saturday second session would do like a 4-hour bike, whereas some of us would do like an hour bike, which was like when it's been like, that was a kind of a weird change to make, because you'd always be like some people are like, why do they only do an hour? You know, and I'm out here for 4 hours. So that was kind of weird, but I think it did help just because then like less injuries and less illnesses and that sort of stuff, which I think as a whole, helped the overall performance, because like less people out of the boat with injuries.
Again, I think as an athlete, you always want to be doing the most and the hardest, everything. And actually, sometimes like being the smartest, best athlete is backing off a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we definitely, because I think as a whole, like, our women's 8 was like we would do the most, like, you know, but then we got better at being like, which obviously made us like so good. But it was trying to be better at being like, you don't have to do as much. Like, if you're tired, like, and like trusting, because I guess we maybe for our first, not my first few years, but my middle few years of my 8 was very much like a lot of like lack of trust. So like if some girls would be like, I'm tired, I'm sick, you'd be like, oh, you like, I think you can push through that. That sort of stuff. It got better at being like, you were tired, like, we trust you, you know, like, we know that you're going to win as well. So we know you're going to do what's best for you. So that definitely, like, that trust got better. Which helps.
You kind of like have to earn the right to just be like, I'm not really feeling it. Now I'm going to go on a bike. Like, you can't do that when you've just been training for a year.
No, exactly. So like it was, we got a lot, like that person's tired, like we respect that. And like, I'll happily grind out on the erg, or if there wasn't enough like bikes, you'd be like, well, I'm feeling better than like what you asked, I'll go on the erg. And that sort of stuff. It's just trying to get everyone to be their best.
It's really good. I think in the GB system, like not the personalized system, I think obviously that's coming in, and I spent some time with the head physiologist in 2013. There were 6 of us that didn't make the world's team. We sort of went on to a different program, which was very much more based on like modern scientific stuff, and it was really good. We increased our strength and VO2 max and things like that. But I also understand that it's incredibly difficult to make changes to a program that's been so successful for so long. And I think for Britain, that's kind of stuck, you know, with Jürgen, what he's doing. Like, well, every 4 years he goes to Olympics and wins a gold medal. So it's like, we're not going to change that. Like, it doesn't really matter that you're slightly different, or maybe it doesn't quite fit for you. Like, this is working. And I generally would have got a sense, like, and from speaking to you, it sounds like the coaches and the teams are more able to mix things up, or they're more happy to like take chances and mix things up.
Definitely. I mean, I think behind the scenes it was a lot hard. Like, we've obviously got some coaches that had been around for a long time and are very much like, you know, this is what works, we would do this. So I think Karen and I had to do a lot of fighting behind the scenes to be like you're just the coach. Like, I'm trained in this like industry. I know what's better for these like girls, guys, bodies. Like, this is gonna work. And it was kind of like she had to really fight to get them to like trust her with the program a bit more, and like instead of the coaches the ones that were all running the program, it's like, well, actually we have a lot more scientific experience into this versus like, you did this as your job before coaching. So I think there was a lot of fighting to be done to have the program not just around doing the hardest training, like having more like lactate stuff brought into it, and like which ultimately worked. But I think it was a lot harder than just it's just a lot to change that. But I worked in the end. I think the coaches eventually came around to realise that in general the athletes are all less injured and more happy, and like happy to be there.
I think like, again, you know, when it was just Bond and Murray sort of doing well, and it was to get the sense, how come this small country's doing well? How come these guys are coming up, and like the men's double and things like that? And I got a sense like, well, because they've sort of got nothing to lose. Like, why? Like, why not change stuff, try stuff? So obviously, he said it's still a battle. Still a battle there. But now you guys are much more like up there anyway.
Well, like this, like exactly the same. It was just like literally, like when I don't know, years ago, when Mahe was like young, like it was in a tiny little shed with just like the double, Mahe, the Pierre. So like it didn't really matter. Like they just had like the craziest coach, and they can just send them out and be like, do this. But when you've got like a team of, you know, 30, everyone's so different, you know, how they work and how they like survive training. It's like it had to be changed. Like things had to change to make it like be able to make it so that everyone could be at their best, instead of like, because you'd have like, I remember speaking to like Lucy Spores when she would have been like, honestly probably at 19, when she was training I don't think she hadn't raced at World Champs. Well, she might have, that might be wrong, but like she was like 19 when she got brought up because she's like this tall, like lanky girl, and they're like, you've got to be epic. But she was just like trained to the death. And even my father was the same. Like she was just always got so run down and so sick because she was again like 18 years old with these like late 20-year-old athletes and doing the exact same as them, but like had never trained. Well, like that, and I'd been from school.
Yeah.
So like, it was trying to do it better so that you've got these young athletes, and like, even though they're actually like, you know, probably got better ergs than some of us older ones, but like they still can't train as hard. They still, you know,
have to get used to it. Absolutely. You have different physiologies, you have different highs, different body fat percentages, different weight. It's like, how can you know that like just doing the same program is going to yield the same results? Like surely it makes sense that like optimizing it a little bit, like here and there for each athlete could produce a better result. And then you see that because with the amount of like pool of athletes that you have in New Zealand, you just get the most out of it.
Exactly. When you got the size and you can't fall back on it. Like Judy's lucky enough that, you know, if someone goes down, you just call the next guard. Order. But again, like in a funny way, like having a smaller squad has actually elevated your results because you haven't been able to lean back on that. And it's funny because I think obviously in rowing we sort of talk about, oh, you know, someone could get injured and someone's to fill in place, but you know, give the example for like rugby, you know, saving this country, you know, if you get injured in the England rugby team, there were 20 people could take. It's not just one. Like rowing's actually still quite a small sport.
Yeah, because you know, every person next in line is like a little bit worse than the prior person. So we were always trying to make sure like the top 8 were well looked after. Well, like, everyone was well looked after, but like we don't want to just be like flag that person off because she's injured, get the next person, because the next person was a step down. So then each time you do that, obviously boat's getting worse. But I always remember like when I first started, like 20 years old, like Rebecca Scout was there, and like she always did a lot more than anyone else. I was like, this is wild and wide. But then like I remember her telling me like I'm a lot older, like I've built up this, you know, aerobic base, so I need to do a lot more to, you know, to keep my level there. And like, because I was always, I feel so bad. But she's like, you get there eventually, like take it while you can. You know, take the 1 hour bikes over my 4 hour bikes, because one day that'll be you.
You definitely see it coming more now into systems in general. We talked about in Cambridge with the women's squad. Again, they're doing like obviously similar stuff like what you're doing, like actually looking at women's physiology and things like that coming in for sure. Like it's definitely helping, but it's funny to kind of think that actually you sit there, New Zealand's such a small country. How are they getting the most of their athletes? Because they have to. Like,
exactly. Like we don't have anyone else. And like even like now, like this year with obviously a huge amount of, or I guess retired athletes, like the team's so small, like no men's and women's eights anymore. So it's almost going back through a building phase. Like we've obviously got some athletes like Twiggy and like Brooke and like Lucy coming back, but you still got these new athletes like that have come from, I guess, years of club or 23s. And it's just, you're starting this again, like, you know, they're building through the like younger stages of their rowing. Which I guess is normal, but
can't just always be at the top and reusing the same athletes. And also it seems from the outside that New Zealand is just able to get just whatever athletes they get up to the international standard and just almost sort of like keep themselves in the like top 5% of like every competition. So like definitely you're very good with both sustaining the athletes you've already got at the international level, but also just bringing the new ones up. So let's talk a little bit about the Tokyo Olympics.
It was wild. Well, obviously COVID, but no, it was cool. It was just a weird, like, obviously we had to not start again, but it was weird going into it with no, like the last time we raced, we were essentially still like world champions because there was no world champs in 2020. It's like going into it, you kind of had to remember that in a sense, but also like kind of forget about it because it meant nothing in that, like, because we'd already had a whole year. So like, I don't know, it was just it's so unknown, which wasn't nice. But again, it was exciting because you don't know what anyone else has been doing. And it was kind of maybe easier. Not that we would have slacked off because we had won the year before, but it was very much like you could not leave any stone unturned because we have no idea what, like, you know, what the rest of the world are doing.
Most years you race 3 or 4 times, you get a general sense.
Like you kind of like know what you need to do to get better, like where you need to work on, but we just had no idea. Like,
did you have any of the warm-up races? Did you go do any of the World Cups before the Olympics?
No, because we were like, we can't travel overseas, and obviously when we get COVID, New Zealand's pretty safe with the low numbers.
Yeah.
And obviously Tokyo was like close and 9-hour flight for us. So yeah, we literally went in there very free.
So you, I guess, kind of racing each other.
Yeah, we did try and get we had talked about getting the Aussies over to race,
Okay.
but our coach was very much like, well, I don't know if this was like good or bad, but he was very much like, no, like the others can do that with their crews, but he's like, I don't want my crews to race.
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
In the sense of that,
like
matchups. Sometimes you think that, it would be good to match up because if we do well or okay, it'll give us confidence. But if we
you don't. That's I think it was protecting us in a sense, which we were kind of like be good for us. But then also, I think he was like, I don't want that to happen. Like, in case you do lose, like he's like, I trust you to do well, but just in case.
Yeah.
But also, like he was, I don't want them to know like where we're at. Because he was like, I know we're going really well, so I don't want them to know where like our best parts of our race was. But yeah, I don't know if it would have helped or not.
Yeah, I think if you're not going to get a chance to do any sort of international race, I sort of agree with you. It's like, I would be like, let's just not let anyone know.
Yeah. And like we knew we had like good crews like internally around us that we knew it's like most crews are pretty much on top form.
Yeah.
So we were like, if we can get within whatever of this crew, then we're like, that's pretty good. But then again, like you never know, like you don't know. So that's the hard thing. It's just like, I hope that person's on form because like we beat them prognostically. So we're like, does that make us the best in the world? I don't know.
So you were working off percentages, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so we did a lot of our squad pieces and 2Ks were obviously time-based, but prognostically, like, of the world's best time. And I mean, it was obviously the women's pair were always top. If they were racing, they would be top. And then it was generally like us or the women's double. So which was like quite cool because, normally internally the women's A would be like middle of the pack. But probably purely because we were always racing the reserves, but like we started to get to a point where we would be like second or third ranked within our like crews with the reserves. But this is pretty cool. If we could do this with the reserves, I mean our reserves are great, but like if we could do it with the girl, like with Kieran Grace, like best in the world out of the boat, we're like, this is good confidence boost.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's just all we had to hold on to.
So, and going to the event in general, did you do, I guess, straight through this time? You didn't go through the rep?
No, yeah, we went straight through. So that was our first, like, as I said earlier, like that was literally, we were like, we need to save Kieran Grace. We need to get straight through. So which almost put more pressure on it, but our whole plan was just to like, we need to get straight through. And again, like, I don't know if having another race, well, I don't know what the help, but it would be nice, like, because it was so like the first race was just so incredibly nerve-wracking and the pressure, because you just had no idea. And obviously going into the final, we'd only raced like half of those people. So obviously if we'd gone to the rep, we would have raced like pretty much everyone.
And did you race? No, didn't race America.
I don't know. We didn't race Canada beat us.
So was it Canada?
Yeah, so no, we didn't race Canada. So that was like, we just had no idea like half these crews were.
Also, you must have been like a little bit rusty because it's been like 2 years since you've done an international competition. So the first race would have definitely been.
So we'd never had any true nerves like for an entire year. I mean, you get nervous like, well, not really, but like a little bit nervous here and there and within like New Zealand racing crews. But like, yeah, just getting back on like, even back to like race, like everything from like traveling from the hotel down to the club, everything just takes so long. And it's, when you're at home, you're just straight to the lake, straight in the water, like it's all smooth sailing pretty quick, but like so many things not go wrong, but like there's always things that pop up and you've got to just like breathe through it, like it's fine. So it's that sort of stuff, remembering like getting back into the groove of, everything takes time, like you just got to be okay with it, like you might be standing on your legs for a bit longer than normal. But yeah, it was good to be back in the race mode. It was just, again, like back into the stress of that. But yeah, after not having it so long, which was it.
No, that 8 thing race day.
Yeah. And the first one was just so, yeah, it was weird because you just don't know.
How did you find the water and then the conditions in Tokyo in general? Because it's a little bit different than like a traditional rowing lake.
Yeah, because it was just a square little concrete. It was definitely very like wavy because obviously you had crews going up the far side and then we were racing down the main part. But because it was like a little bathtub, obviously, it was always like ripple. But I mean, we kind of liked the messy water because we're so used to that character because it's so windy. So I think we never wanted it to be obviously headwind. Don't like a headwind, no one does. But we did want it to be always a little bit choppy. if we could, because that was like a good strength of ours. I feel like that would have been weird for us.
Yeah.
Just because we never really had it.
That's a good superpower if you have it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we definitely loved a bit of chop here and there.
I used to train at school, and we had on the River 7 really, really high banks. So like even when it's windy, it was always super calm, which we loved because we had great training. But then we turn up to race, and if it was windy, we're done.
What is this?
You know we can do it.
Yeah, exactly. So that was
the opposite.
Yeah, no, we were very good in rough water, which was good to have it.
So yeah, especially for Tokyo, I guess.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it definitely. Well, I'm pretty sure it's fair. I don't even remember it, but it was definitely fair water. It was just a bit like choppy. Obviously, that bridge. So you come out of the bridge, you always get hit with a bit of gust of wind. But like again, we had our cox was very good at I don't know, I've never seen a cox to see, but just reading he knew where the gusts of winds are coming, so he'd be wind now, so he'd be a little more braced. But yeah, I feel like. I know, it's good.
I had a cox again once at school. He used to do a bit of sailing, and sailors are really good at looking at the ripple in the water. And he'd be great at being
coming on bow side, bow side press.
That's a nice little skill.
Yeah. That was very good.
So going into the final, obviously this isn't your first Olympics, so you know what to expect. How was it different to your Rio experience, and how did you approach it as a crew as well?
I guess firstly having no spectators or anything, no family, you kind of, obviously you never do it for your family, people watching, but it's so cool to be I can win this with my family here with me. So you kind of just obviously we watch a regatta, so there's a big party happening in New Zealand watching us, but that was weird. But yeah, same old, because obviously once you get down to the lake, it's the same. There's no other sports around you, it's just a normal old 2K course. So that aspect was the same. But it was obviously different because he hadn't raced in half the crew, so we didn't know. Obviously, we knew Canada won the other heat, so we knew we were both probably going to be hopefully top 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just hadn't, and it was just we didn't want to focus too much on what they had done in the heat because you never know how they race the heat or if it's different. Obviously how hard they'll push, that sort of stuff. But yeah, so it's just going back to trusting our process and knowing what we do best. Because obviously we can't change how we row we never want to change how we rode or how we approach the race to try and match up. So yeah, I was just going into that being we just have to do our best and hopefully our best is enough.
So I'm guessing for the final, you lined up next to them in a lane next to Canada, and then the barge comes up. What happens next?
So I do remember them shooting out, I think we were definitely I think it did take us by surprise a little bit. We had our best race. Let's put that out there now. But it was definitely a bit of a shock. I think we were oh god. I definitely remember being a little bit shit. They're actually gone. They, I don't know, probably I would say bow to stern. And I was oh, that's a bit stressful. 500 meters, they were definitely that far out. I was oh god. And I remember being we've just got to keep going. I think I'm in the boat, but we're just keep going. And Caleb, I can't, it's so good. But I think we were just so we've got to stay in it. It's saying we're happy to be behind, it's okay. But we were just every single move, we put at them, they just counteract. Obviously, again, it's the Olympics, so it's the main event of a 4-year cycle. So no one's going to give you anything if they can. So obviously, being in front, again, that advantage. And they're obviously an incredible crew. But versus 2019, we slowly chewed the other crew back, chewed Australia back. It's just we were not getting anything. Every single move we took, they would just counter back, and yeah, we did gain back on them, but just obviously it was just not enough. They just had enough in the tank to just keep doing our moves, and we were as I said, racing our best race. So we were just what is happening? How are we not coming back? How are we not winning this?
If you've had your best race, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, exactly. That's. I didn't even know if that's a good feeling or not. Obviously, you don't want to have your worst race because then it's if we had a good race, we could have won.
Yeah.
But so at least knowing that regardless, we could never have done any better. But it was it was hard, crossing that line a second.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, we had a race in 2020, so technically we could have been we were reigning world champions. But I think we were going into it. Obviously, it was one gold. But yeah, it was hard.
Yeah.
I think we were all pretty gutted and pretty upset.
Yeah.
And it took a while to be guys, we just want a silver Olympic medal. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we got on like off the water. We were all like, well, actually we'd seen Twig because obviously Twig had raced just before and won.
Yeah.
And like she's been out for 4 Olympics and gets fourth every time. So like we were all like crying as well because we were like, she's just won gold. Like, I remember we pulled her in and like all hugged her on the water. And so that was cool as well. But then we're like, show us second. Like it's kind of mixed. Yeah,
I find that like sometimes people are like, oh, look at them. They're like unhappy with silver. Like, how could they possibly be unhappy with silver? And they're like, sorry, did you just give 4 years of your life?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm the same. Like even you, like my parents are like, but silver is so cool, and I'm like, it's not the point. Like obviously it's cool, but now I'm like, it's so cool.
Yeah, and you'll realize that in time.
Yeah, and there are some crews obviously like that didn't expect to get second and got second, so they're like, this is sweet. Yeah. But obviously, like in our mind, I mean, obviously everyone there like wants to win gold, but in our mind, we like knew we actually physically, like, you know, could win gold.
Right, yeah.
Like we were gonna get either gold or silver.
Yeah.
Maybe third, but hopefully not third. But gold or silver was like, I think it was hard for a few moments until we got off and like I think everyone just was had a few girls being like, guys, this is silver, like this is still so epic. And like we had our best race, can't do anything about it. And like, you know, happy to Canada won.
Yeah.
Like they're a good bunch.
You look back now and like, yeah, but like that was my best.
Yeah, exactly.
And also I sort of think of it in terms of like you know, like football or any two team sport, like in the Olympics, like you win your silver in the round before.
Yeah.
And then in the final you lose gold.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's why you kind of always upset for it. And for you guys, you felt like you'd won silver by being fastest into it.
Yeah.
So then that final felt like, but now we've lost
exactly.
gold.
Yeah, it's always a hard one.
Yeah.
And Canada definitely did their homework on you guys, like responding to every single move that you've been putting out there too.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think, because I obviously had, so my first coach, Dave Thompson, so they had him, which I don't even know how to know this, but he obviously coaching them prior to that, and then obviously like stuff went down and he got fired like 3 weeks before. So they went into this with no coach. So I think they had like this whole, I don't know, like bit of like, not motivation, but like something to be like, you know, just to get across the line in spite of Dave. So like all of that, which I mean, we don't even know at this time, but yeah, like they just were a hungry crew and we just faster and stronger and bigger than us, and unfortunately there's nothing we could do about it.
Yeah, sometimes it happens.
We weren't going to get any bigger in those few days, so.
So then post-Olympics, did you know you weren't going to keep going? Did you
No, so I knew I was going to take time off. I was definitely going to take a season off. So obviously came back from Tokyo, went 2 weeks in the MIQ hotel. Which, honestly, so everyone had to like have your own room unless you were like, you know, it could be like I'm mentally struggling or like I need someone, or you had a partner on the team, whatever. But Beth and I were like, we can't do this alone. So they like got us a room. So we're like, we don't care. Like we were like to ourselves, if we have a tiny like double bed room, are we gonna be okay? Like, we won't murder each other. We're like, we'll be sweet. And then we got there and we had like, I had this massive room and then they had like a door in between our two rooms. They just unlocked it. So we were like, we are living in luxury, and everyone was so jealous because we like wake up every morning and she'd come into my room, and
nice.
It was great. Loved my 2 weeks in quarantine. Then obviously came out and we're like, this is going to be like a few weeks of partying, because obviously we didn't have the post classic Olympic, you know, week of partying where you come back and you're like sick and you don't want to touch any alcohol.
Yeah.
But we're going to have this in New Zealand with like family and friends. And then that night they announced that we're going back into level 4 lockdown. So it was like, and I'd wasted my day off because I went and spoke at this, I got asked to speak at the school on this day. So I like spent like a few hours at the school speaking, and then I was like, now I've got to run home to pack because I'm going into level 4 lockdown. And then I was meant to move. So I had this really good coaching job in Australia. So I was like, I'll go like, you know, quick stop home if I want to come home any earlier. But I was like, I'll go there for 10 months, coach, and then come back, get back in training. But then there was like all this chat that Sydney or like Australia were going to go into lockdown, and then obviously we were going into lockdown, so our borders are shut. So I was like, I'm okay if I can't get back into New Zealand, but like if rowing isn't happening in Australia, like I don't have a job. Yeah. And like the coach was like, we don't know, like if you, and I was like, I need to be guaranteed that I'm paid if there's no rowing, because otherwise I'm going to be homeless in Australia.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't, so they had Ruby and Grace came over into the NBA at Cambridge here. So they're like, just come to London. And I was like, oh, what do I do in London? Like, I don't know. And I spoke to a few people about like coaching jobs here, but like you get paid nothing unless you're like at a school. So I was like, I can't do this. And then, I was like, I'm coming over. So I ended up nannying when I first got here, which was fine, like really nice, like, lovely house in Wimbledon. And then like after a while of like living here, I was like, I don't want to go back. So I remember like emailing a few people, Sean Colgan to be like, because he sponsored the Row New Zealand team, and he's like this like wealthy business American guy, and I was like, you surely know people that can get you a job. And he's like got a perfect job, like but involves boats and water, just a much larger scale.
Yeah.
So I ended up quitting my nannying job and eventually retired from rowing. I like went to retire, and then I was like, I can't. So I like withdrew it because I was like, I can't do it just yet. And then eventually I like officially retired. And here I am.
It all goes up on Instagram these days, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, you've got to like officially
I've done it. Everyone knows I'm not getting dragged back into it.
But you rode a little bit inland.
Yeah, so I did. When I was in Wimbledon, I did a little bit because this time I wasn't like retiring. I was going back. I did a bit at Thames and London Row Club. I didn't actually row once, to be fair. I just did my own ergs and like gym stuff just to like keep fit. And because I'm not ready to row. And then I moved to Hackney. So I rowed at Lee Road Club, did a bit there. But I was just club rowing just isn't quite there for me yet.
Yeah. It's like difficult when you've made it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's so hard. I always hate saying this. I feel so bad saying this, but like when you've rowed it, like I've been in a women's 8 my entire life, and obviously clubs do a lot of focus on women's 8. So I was like, it's really hard to step into a women's 8, which is not my women's 8.
The way I kind of think about it, it's like it's not that it's like not good enough in a sense. It's more that it's like, you've spent 10 years trying to row better than club level.
Yeah.
Like it's good. It's all right. But I spent 10 years trying to be here.
And I think like also, I know I thought like club, I thought club was like more fun. It was fun. Obviously, don't get me wrong. I had such a good time. Like they always do cool social stuff, but like I thought the rowing would be fun. So I'd get out there, like paddle for a bit, have a drink of water. But like they took us, and obviously like for them, it's like is a big deal, right? Like, and I get that. But like for me, I was like, this is just club rowing. Like I'm chill, but it was just so serious, and I was like, I just can't. Like I couldn't do it. Yeah. So eventually I just got to the point where I was like, if you need to fill in for like any boats, I'll come fill in. But I was like, I don't want to. I'm not committing to any rowing here. Yeah. And like, they couldn't have me anyway because every event they entered, we had to do like the senior event. Yeah. Which none of them wanted to do. But I was like, in your boat or I'm not. They were race senior, but now I'm not doing any with my new job. I just don't have time.
So what was the final boundary that for you that pushed you over the line to say, I'm not going to go back to international rowing anymore?
I think it was the sense that I did love it over here. And also I think probably the fact that quite a big group of our women's 8 were retiring. So obviously, Grace ended up going back, but it was like obviously Kelsey and a few others that were like, I'm retiring. So I was kind of like, I either retire now or I go back into like a team that's probably not going to be similar standards. And I was like, and I'd always wanted to be young when I retired because I kind of, like seeing some people start their like real life jobs when they're like mid-30s. I was like, obviously it's still young, but I was like, that like to be, fun. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't really have a degree. So I was like, I need to be like young to start my life because it's going to take me a while to get on track.
What age were you when you retired?
I was 26. 26. Yeah.
But you were like in the team by the time.
Yeah, so I'd been in there like a long time. Yeah. So I could definitely been in there. Like all the other girls retired would have been like 35. Yeah. Like similar. I'm older, but like I'd been there like same time as them. So even we had some girls that were like my age who had already been there for like 3 years retiring as well.
Yeah.
But I think that sense is just like Beth retired. She's a year younger than me, but she'd already been there since like 2018. But I think that like the last few years were just such a like a world of emotions with like obviously 2019 and then COVID and then obviously Tokyo. And I think it's hard because I want them to go to Olympics where they can experience the actual true Olympics. But also it's like, do you go back? Because I always like, for ages before I retired, everyone's like, you can come back and like once you win gold, like do you not want to go back and try and win gold? But like if I go back and like get 4th or like obviously 3rd, I'd still be happy with. But if I went back and did like another 4 years and got 4th and like could have been living in London, I would have regretted it so bad.
Yeah, I think the cost of continuing like gets any around your 20s is like I've got nothing else to do. But then you're like, hang on, I need a career. I want a family.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to get settled before I like need to think about family and that sort of jazz. I've got to, have some money and have a job.
Yeah.
But
That's the other thing. Yeah. Living life.
Now
with
I'm
money.
living in London, so I don't really need that anyway. But so I don't regret it at all. Like, I love it here, and I've never been here for 2 years. September, wild.
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah, but no, I love everything.
Life after rowing goes very quick.
Yeah, it does. Honestly, it's so strange.
You think you're gonna have all this time off because you're not training?
No, but no, I do miss. Like, the only thing I miss is obviously Henley's great because you can go and not race and still be a part of it.
Yeah.
Drink the pins. But I do miss the world champs and that sort of stuff. You have the same kind of group of, I don't know how many 500 athletes that you see every year. Because obviously once you're in the elite team, it's mainly the same people from each country. So I have all these friends from different countries, and it's so cool, coming together, hey, and then. But yes, I miss that, but I don't miss any of the training.
Nah.
No.
That's awesome. It's really cool to hear. And awesome to hear about a different squad and how it's done slightly differently. I mean, obviously there's a lot that's the same, but just so impressive with how your system has produced what it's produced. And I hope at this point you were super proud of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know I am. I obviously love it. It's so cool. Even now people are I want to see it, and that's cool because I kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
And then you've got someone being my colleague Harrison, who rows as well. At Lee, he's always this is every time a new client comes to the office, he's always this is Emma, she won got silver at the Olympics. But that's kind of, even though it's so embarrassing, but it is nice to just kind of remember it.
You should have
talk about it.
Henry Fieldman, who got bronze in the the men's eight, he said, it's in the drawer at home, and it's a bit embarrassing, but sometimes I get it out and look at it. And no, I want to know. I want you to do it. I want the person who's got the medal to be
yeah. I know, it's so cringe. It is nice. I didn't even want to bring it up, but when someone else it's go get your medal. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to even not having, but just to remember those days.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So do you think you'll ever go back to rowing in any way or capacity? Not necessarily as an athlete, but also as a coach or as a mentor?
I would love to be coaching. We're actually doing Coastal World Champs. Obviously not rowing at all.
Okay.
But I'm doing Coastal World Champs this year.
Awesome.
September. But I haven't trained. But I've been telling everyone I'm training.
You got to start doing some running as well.
Huh?
Some running as well.
Yeah.
With the coastal, yeah.
I hate running. No, I'm not the running.
Not the sprint one.
No, so I'm doing the long distance one.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I can't train on it to be a sprinter. No, so I'm doing that in September, I think.
Cool.
Which guys come around quickly. So I need to get on it. But yeah, no, so I think I will get back into definitely some rowing socially. Obviously, hopefully me, Grace, Ella and Beth will race for at Henley next year. We just need to go through the logistics of how you qualify. I don't even know how that works, but yeah, I don't know, because obviously two of them still live in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And Grace and I are here, but yeah, so hopefully we'll work that out in the next few months.
Absolutely. And you said you haven't done much sculling, so obviously that's also another great part of rowing to discover.
I do love sculling, to be fair. I did quite a bit of school. When I was at school, I did quad, pier,
Double.
Quad, double, pier and four, and I did a single. I got made to race a single my first year RPC, won the under 20 single.
Nice.
But other than that was all I did.
Awesome. No, it's great to hear, and it's definitely going to be fun to see you race again. Hopefully at Henley, you're definitely going to qualify next year.
Yeah.
It's really good to be. It's a qualifying event.
There is a qualify. If you
Yes, sure. I don't know how we can do that.
No, it's only the Friday before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can pre-qualify in certain events if you do well.
Okay.
And then if you don't do that, then the Friday before Henley, you go and do a time trial.
Okay, sweet. Okay, that's right. I was like, do we have to fly them over?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that works.
Yeah.
We can talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quick fire questions then, I guess, before we finish.
Yeah, that's right. So I've got a question. What is your favorite rowing location, lake that you've trained at, rowed at, competed at, or visited?
Lucerne, hands down, is probably my favorite racing lake. And then Lake Bohine in Slovenia is my favorite training lake.
Yeah,
They're only two I love. Oh, Bleed's nice, but I've not raced or trained there. I was very jealous about Euros the other shit, but it's fine. One day.
Awesome. So if you were to go back and do a regatta or a particular race when you're 60, what would it be and why?
I would love to go. I would love to go back and race at Lucerne, I think. Like, all-time favourite racing lake. I just love, obviously, where the podium is and, like, all of that, where the grandstand is. I don't know, I just love Lucerne, love the mystery, love the city.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, my one. So I'd like to ask if you could travel back in time and visit you at the age you were when you first got really hooked on rowing, what advice would you give that kid?
I'd probably say to enjoy it more when I first started, because when I was at school, I took it so seriously. I was such a loser. Like, I never did anything naughty at school. Like, I never went to parties. I never drank. And even like juniors and 23s, I wish obviously, I was really hard at training, but I just took it so seriously. Like, it was everything in my life. But I mean, if I knew that I was going to be there for another 10 years, I'd be like, enjoy this, while you haven't put much into it.
Yeah, and that's also probably why you got.
Well, yeah, either way, like, it is why I'm probably here now. But like, I wish I had, I don't know, maybe just enjoyed it more and like lived in the moment a bit more.
That's solid advice. There's more than one person who said that.
Yeah, like
take a look around and enjoy it.
Like, I feel like I spent so long like complaining and hating training sessions, but like, I lived a pretty sweet life. Like, didn't take that much time in my day. But I was always like, oh, I really don't want to go to the lake. But I wish I'd just be like, this is pretty cool. Like, I get paid to just keep fit, do some rowing.
I think that's advice for life. Like, you'll always find yourself in a place where you think things tough, but you need to remember, like, to look around and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Good advice.
So this is going to be the last question. And this will be quite interesting because obviously you grew up around different people in terms of like rowing. Who's your rowing idol or the person you've looked up to the most during your career?
Oh, probably female Rebecca Stan. Just because she obviously doesn't take it, she takes it seriously, but she always looks like just such like a level-headed like athlete, and she did look like she was always like rowing was life and that was it. But then now, like, when I started to row with her, I was like, she is very good at like the rowing life balance, which like once I knew that, I was like, she definitely is my idol, even though I'd already met her at this point. But Maya would be Bondi. Like, I feel like he's just such a like driven, kind of the same sort of aspect. Like, obviously their dynamic in the pair, like Hamish was a very much like be at training early, like warming up. But then obviously Bondi then Eric's the one that just like rocks up just before rolls onto the water. I mean, he's a great athlete, obviously. But like Bondi, I was like, he does everything right. Yeah.
Awesome. It's good to hear that they were training like their hardest and they were actually like setting the right example and everything.
Yeah.
I guess I've just got one more. What's your favorite training session?
Oh, anything race prep. Hate long distance training.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, sometimes it's nice to just like if I'm in an 8, not in a 4 or a pair when I'm battling. But like, if I'm in an 8, you're doing like 30k. Like, sometimes it's kind of nice. Just out in the water, it's silent. Like, that's nice. But I'm more of like I love the race prep. Like, anything sprinty, anything like 3k or less.
Just to race it through and through.
Yeah, I'm a race to throw it through. So I love the like shorter, sharp, like 100-meter sprints. I love that shit. Yeah, like when we do like 1k, 500, like 250, 100, like repeats. Love that.
Awesome. Yeah. Listen, Emma, this has been so great to have a chat. Obviously, it's been really informative to like see what it's like on the other side of the world, and like obviously coming from such a successful system as well, which New Zealand is. Definitely love to have you back on again. But thank you so much for being here, and this has been great.
Oh, thank you for having me. I loved it. It's been good.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, it's been awesome. Yeah, definitely. Just reiterate, thanks so much for sort of sharing your knowledge. And I think it's sometimes, discussed this before, it can seem kind of boring because you know your story.
Yeah.
But so many other people don't. And I think
it's nice to relive it.
Yeah, that's where I get some memories.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, appreciate it.
Yeah,
and if at some point in the future we can have you on again, we will.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Awesome.
And hope you enjoy London too.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So on that note, easy there.
Cue the music.